Recording in progress.
I heard you.
Is that you, Cindy? 87.
Jesus.
I might go sit with Cindy though, so that I'm not like on video the entire time.
Oh, is that facing right over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right there.
Can I join you, Cindy?
Sure.
Just so I'm not like staring at your camera the entire time.
Doesn't matter.
Would like to not be on camera?
I don't even pay attention to.
I mean, I don't mind being on it, but just the entire time.
Pay attention to
I mean, you're on camera the entire time, I hate to tell you, not just mine. There's multiple cameras on right now. The meeting's already been
Oh,
recorded.
yeah, the meeting's recording.
Oh, does it record every person the whole time?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if the
No,
owl,
when it
watch,
starts
just
recording
watch the
before
screen,
the
it's
meeting
recording the whole
stops.
time. And anybody that's on Zoom can see it
know.
too.
Oh, because
I thought it was just the people that were
because
in
they
the
told
squares.
us, one of the boards I was.
Well, it moves.
Oh, and
They-
Yeah, when you talk.
Because
I
they
think
had.
when you were out
Well,
making
not
copies,
always, sometimes if you just
they
move,
said
or if the person
meeting
next to you,
recording started.
Yeah, they do
moves
that
their
on-
chair,
Recording.
Yeah.
the owl's
They
gonna,
had some
you're
issues.
on video almost the
So
entire
it's on
time.
here.
Start recording
Yeah.
5
It's gonna be on
minutes
you.
before
So there's no,
Yeah, but it's just,
no, if you don't
right.
wanna be recorded, you need to
Oh, I
not
don't mind.
attend, do not go to a public meeting, ever.
I don't mind being recorded, it's
I
just
don't know
the,
what problem they
in
had,
the-
but they had some.
And I moved my camera
Yeah.
around, so I will be
I mean,
recording
you
you.
know I don't mind being
I will be recording you.
So we're in the meeting.
So don't say anything,
So I can't say anything, but I want to.
I guess once he calls the meeting to order. Oh, was there any, can you read that?
You get a copy.
I have a
And I brought my glasses, so I couldn't read.
Thank you, Dawn.
Actually, I made him a pretty permanent part of this code.
Yeah, we can leave it on.
Was, okay, these
I just,
Getting started.
Sterling, okay, or,
On vacation.
oh, she's still at the.
Yeah, one more.
Very nice.
Out on a cruise again.
This is great.
Okay,
Any your notes?
do we want, I would assume that.
You're done.
I think they're great.
You always have good ones.
Okay, so,
Well, yeah,
do we want me to log in and share it on the screen, or do we go from?
Yeah,
Maybe
fine.
from the, yeah,
Yeah, put it up.
yeah.
considering I don't want to believe in me, yeah, put it up.
And TCAM, this is Don Hayes, I would like to share.
You're muted, Dawn.
You should be able to share now.
Oh, no, you're not.
Okay, thank you. I have to be mute so that the.
I got it, never mind.
I appreciate it, Bob.
I forgot you have two computers going over there.
Yeah. Okay, so. Share screen. Okay, we'll share everything. Okay, good evening, this is the Townsend Finance Committee, calling the meeting to order at 6:09 PM. We are all in the room, but, I would appreciate a roll call attendance, or voice attendance.
Carol Hoff is present.
Sam Grant?
Dave Walker present.
Mary Jane Churchville present.
Don Hayes present. With that, we have a quorum, we are good to continue. This meeting is being recorded, it will be replayed on Channel 9 and will also be posted to the YouTube channel. Is there anybody else recording this meeting?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, that's Cindy King, if you make reference. Nobody else speaking up, that would be the only additional recording. At this point, additions or deletions, I have no additions or deletions to make at this point. Moving into the work session, the first point I had was to review minutes from February 6th, February 11th, and February 13th. Had everybody read them?
Looked at them?
Any changes to them?
No.
Do we want to
Make a motion to accept the 3 different minutes from January,
February?
I'm sorry, February 2025.
And I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes and a second. Any further discussion? None being heard?
Like water under the dam anyway.
Yeah, roll call vote.
Carol Hoff says yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Dave Walker, yes.
Mary Jane Churchville, yes.
Don Hayes, yes. Unanimous. The minutes have been accepted. And Carol, as we accepted, do you mail them to town clerk?
I haven't, but I can.
Okay.
I
Okay,
wasn't sure when I
once
supposed
it's
to.
up, yeah.
Once they're done,
Yeah.
I have them all on my computer, so
Okay.
it's not a big deal, I can
Yeah. And
email
then
them.
we'll continue on with those February ones.
Okay. Okay.
I had put correspondence on here, but, the only thing, we were asked to, pass out, we did get, the letter that had been sent out by the town administrators, and we forwarded, to us. This was August 5th of last year. We did review it when it was mailed out last August.
So do we wanna revisit it for 2 seconds?
We can.
Oh, thank you. 2 seconds, I could take 20 minutes for that.
Alright.
Oh, I think that's an extra.
Only because I think it's important that we memorialize this information on, for the townspeople. Because the last paragraph, I think, is critical. It says, "It is therefore critical that North Middlesex work within our limitations and produce new budget assessments within our projected annual growth. For fiscal year 2026, a 3% assessment increase would total $40,979,991, including operating, transportation, and debt service. Any figure above that would require overrides, and these have not generally been well received."
Yes, and there was an amount, put in there, and we saw at the town meeting on, March 10th.
Mhm.
I can't get my dates right. And the town meeting voted, to approve the full assessed value, from the town and pay for it with, operating funds and, just the free cash. Yes, you know, hopefully it is,
So that being said, does that mean that it's taken out of this budget?
it is not taken out of the budget, it goes in the budget as it was presented, and the new assessment just before the town meeting, it came down to, I think it was, $1,010,000 and change. Let me see what that line is that's in the budget.
Okay.
Education, we don't have pages listed on here, so, education is on line 500, let me get over to.
Okay. I see. So So it stays in.
It stays in,
And when they finally figure out what the final number's gonna be, it will be in that, not included in that number.
as far as the school,
No, when the board of selectmen and the town administrator make a decision on the final numbers, or does that not happen?
well, the final number, the final assessment, and I had given you the $1,000,010, that was the increase over last year, was the $1,010,000. So when we look at, what we have here, on line 500 in the budget, the North Middlesex assessment is for, the schools is, and transportation is $14,037,426.
Okay.
And that number is not gonna change, that's what the final assessment for the schools were, there's gonna be no changes as far as I'm aware,
Oh,
to the school budget.
Right, I think that was, yeah, they seemed to say, they indicated that that was the final number.
Right.
okay.
So if we come in and fund the schools with that number, and again, that's not counting the exempt debt, which is the school building.
Oh, okay. I thought it was more like 6,000.
So, Mr. Chairman, point of clarification and concern, Kim Craven and I am speaking at this moment as a school committee member and not as a resident. There was a figure that was given, as you know, in the letter from August, and then an amount over that. At the budget summit, there was a statement made that they were going to put forward a number and keep it at that and then keep the rest. That was the 1.3 number. That was adjusted down to the 6 and change as an override. As you know, at the town meeting, the special town meeting, that was then adjusted and put on free cash in the levy and not in an override. It was a lot at the meeting, but it was clear and that vote did pass. But yesterday, it was stated that the override would be inclusive of the schools, and it was very clear that the intent at the special town meeting, because that letter was very clear that it would fund the 3%, we did the overage as part of the levy and as free cash and not in an override status. So we were very confused. There was no communication to the school itself or to the school committee as to why that occurred yesterday. So we have been in touch with the appropriate personnel. We would ask that this board, this committee, vote not in favor or not endorse that override. I will speak as a citizen in general terms, but as a school committee person, because we voted very specifically to not have it be in an override status.
Well, it needs to, the statements could be clear. Once you have a line in the budget, we've agreed on the line, it is part of the budget and we have to pay for it. It's kinda like, so as a result, any line in here has that same piece. If we're saying that every line in the budget is what's going, and there's an override for $625,000 is to pay for every line in this.
There's multiple ways to do a budget, and it was very clear yesterday from the statements from the town administrator that all departments had not yet put in their budgets. In reviewing the budget, it's very clear that a line item is in there that the town has already said that they were not gonna fill, so that money is still in the budget. Very clear that it was a work in progress. I don't wanna veer too much into being a resident versus a school committee member, but it was clear that the budget was in flux. And so to state that this is an override for the town and the schools is a little bit inaccurate because the number isn't known. We know exactly what it is, the ask for the school department, and it was under the levy. The town actually doesn't know what its budget is yet.
The town doesn't know the full budget yet. When we look at the budget that was presented and forwarded by the town administrator, column G is what was indicated at the time in the budget budget during the special town meeting. Column H is the proposed cuts. There is no difference in the budget for the schools on those lines, on those two columns. There is no change. Let me blow it up a little so we can.
So what's the impact of this confusion? I mean,
I think that's really all it is right now, the town administrator is trying to work with the department heads and come up with a budget, that has cuts in it, related to where we're trying to achieve. Then after that, there are also additional columns out here, that potentially, we didn't go that far out, so further out, they start talking about alternate proposals and savings of 20% off personnel and then they have the original budget. So they are still working towards the budget that we have in column H is the budget that takes into account the $625,000 override that was discussed. The additional columns are how, if the override does not pass, what changes have to be made.
well,
And again, this is a one-year budget. It is not looking forward at all into subsequent years and what impact there may be.
well, how long does it take them to figure out a number? I mean, we've been looking at these numbers now for 2 months. We have them this way, that way, upside down and backwards. And they've done this before. I mean, or at least one of them.
One of them has done it before.
Right, I mean, so
It's gonna-
why is it so confusing and so, yeah, why is it so
Okay.
confusing,
So
I guess my
if
question.
if they're still working on the numbers, then what are these numbers?
Yeah, we
Because-
keep getting numbers and then they change.
And
Bless you.
bless you.
Thank you, but
And I'm not even sure these are even accurate numbers, cause I just looked, the only reason I looked at the accountant is because I thought it was lower than I remembered. So I
right.
went and looked at the worksheets, and the number on here is like 50,000, but on the worksheet, she's up,
town clerk,
No,
50,000.
no,
The
the
accountant.
accountant, which is,
The assistant accountant.
or whatever.
So, Mr. Chairman, I will just conclude to say that as a school committee member, I take umbrage to the fact that it was put in as an override for the school. It did not have to be that way, there's multiple ways to do an override, and it should be very specific. But the reason why it's not is because there's from the words of the town administrator, paraphrasing, the budget is not set, they set an override without all the budgets in hand. When I look at these numbers, budgets and the reductions that were supposed to be taken haven't, so I'll conclude that for the, any discussion for my role as a school committee member. But as you, again, I definitely have comments as a resident. But I do wanna be clear on the two roles.
It is confusing, I think, to the town people.
It is, as it is to us, but.
So that equals to me non-transparency. So why can't we take that out? Or at least motion somehow to let the people know that they're not voting again for the school, because they're not.
They're not, there are lines in the budget and everything highlighted in yellow, that we have, is where the changes are and the proposed cuts.
But today,
Yes, it's kinda like, as they work towards a number to see. Now, these are lines, when we start looking at, and I'll use, for instance, if I can scroll and get to, the town clerk. We have town clerk postage for $975, it was dropped to 0.
What's she gonna do for her postage?
Well, again, this is a one-year budget trying to balance it, so this number that they have was taken $975 out of the budget to try to get it closer to a number that will match the amount that they're getting.
They didn't
with
take
that-
the school
with-
out.
No, the school has been voted
Is that,
and it's set. It's kind of like, that's not changing. I'll scroll to the but what it is, there is another account that was set up last year at annual town meeting for elections, and that's where the postage is gonna come from this year.
what are we gonna do if we have to have another election?
That, there's money in that account, but it was there for years where we have state elections and federal elections. And so, we're gonna have to come to a point where that money has to be repaid so we can afford elections.
We
But
can't.
for now, we're trying to balance the budget.
Right.
And so we took out of the operating budget a line that we're gonna get the funds
Why
in.
didn't we just lower that budget, was that
But you know,
permanent?
this is a
Whatever
That's
problem.
not permanent.
The
Yes,
election is a permanent thing.
the
So you
elections
take
are,
money from it, but you can't reduce it in the budget.
there,
And it-
the elections have cycles. You have a
Yeah,
year
I
where,
know.
you have a year where we have only the annual and 2 special town meetings.
Right.
Or one, maybe two, and that's set. The other years, 2 and 4, you have state elections, so you have to do primaries in
Right.
September, and you have to have an election in November, so those years, you have 3 elections that you have to gear for. And with the state elections, you also have to plan for the early voting and the mail-in voting. When you get to the presidential, you have a March primary in addition to the September primary, the November election, along with the annual. So those years, in order to try to balance it and keep the budget looking like it was just pretty constant, they set up a file
Yeah,
budget
I remember
line.
that.
And so there was money put in there that in order to have the elections and cover the elections, we are gonna have to put money in there if we continue to use it. But that money was put aside for elections, so that's, in order to hit the 1 year, you're trying to draw on that, hoping
But
that we're gonna replenish it
why
when we
can't
need it.
that be lowered, because it's not a major year?
This is
and-
lowered, this is lowered to, this is,
Mm,
so when we get to elections,
Right,
um, the election budget itself, is 11,275, and that's gonna be your lowest year, and that's gonna be the constant every year. The other budget line, that's a separate expense, or it's a separate line, we have to find that there's gonna be, either we have to find funds in the operating budget to do it, or we have to find free cash that we could fund that other account and put it in there so that we can cover those other years that are more expensive on the elections.
and where's the postage coming out of that 11,000?
The postage,
Got 0 postage right now
Mhm.
for whoever does
Okay.
the,
So the-
How can we make them do a 5-year budget? Because number one, we keep robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
This has been their
right,
operating, this
Mhm.
is how this
Right.
town's been
This is-
doing. So every year they're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and we're always in a horrible cycle. And they refuse to do a 5-year budget, so how can we make them do a 5-year budget? And maybe this is the year where we need to bite the bullet and do some really harsh cuts to get us into a place where we're not
Good.
always robbing Peter
Yeah.
to pay
Well-
Paul.
Then can you just clarify,
Yep.
what row are you looking at?
it's line 128 in the budget, line 132, the 975 in column G gets reduced to 0.
Okay, and then she's gonna do
Column.
post.
But in 152, there's $1,000.
There was $1,000, and that
Right.
was in the elections. So, but when
Yeah.
I just spoke with her, she said this was for the elections.
So how are we handling the school thing? Are we, what are we doing with
Okay.
the school?
Well, the school number stays the way it was.
yeah.
14,000?
Yeah, 14 million, cause that's what was voted on at the
Didn't
town.
change,
meeting.
whatever
Okay.
the change was, yeah.
Yeah, we shouldn't be touching the school.
No,
Right.
because
the
it's-
schools is
And
not
we're not.
touching.
But it's listed, and it gives the impression to the community members that the school's required override, and they do not according to the special
They should
town
put a
meeting.
note in here. They
A
should
warrant,
put,
you're saying.
at
Oh,
the
because
minimum.
it's- You say because it's listed on this sheet.
Yes.
It appears, okay.
I think she's 100% right.
Yeah, okay, I
It
get it.
appears
It is
as
going on the
requested.
ballot. as an override.
The school?
Ballot
Correct.
question.
The ballot question from
Oh,
yesterday,
okay,
it appears as an override.
Oh, we haven't seen that yet.
we
Yeah,
haven't
it's
seen
kinda-
that.
When do we get to see that, FinCom?
That is my consternation when you were talking about the budget.
Oh, okay,
So
so,
yesterday it was voted as an override for $625,000 for the town and the schools. And the schools were eliminated from the override.
yes, they were.
Correct.
100%, 100%.
Yes.
Right,
We haven't seen that,
I'm sorry.
so.
Well, it's not your fault.
No,
right, we haven't seen the,
When do you think we might get it?
I mean, how can we even work to
So,
do anything?
so I would put
Can
my
I
town.
add that your Fincom liaison from the Board of Selectmen is on the Zoom right now, maybe you could ask
Why
her.
don't we ask her?
All right.
Veronica, when are we gonna get that letter that,
the wording
the
for
wording
the,
for the
for the
ballot?
ballot.
Well, I guess that tells us.
Yep, she raised her hand.
Okay, maybe she can't,
Maybe it's
are you,
technical.
She's there.
maybe you're muted?
She's there and she's not muted.
I don't think I am.
Yep,
Okay.
you're good.
I can answer a couple questions here. The school budget stays as the school budget is. The funding is for the town, which includes the schools. Nobody is changing the school budget. That's number one. Number two, on the question on the ballot, that was put forward at the selectmen's meeting yesterday. So you can, I don't think we have ever distributed to all departments the wording of the ballot ever for any override, but you can watch the selectmen's meeting and see the motion. It was read into the record. So if you want it, you can get it there. It is available, it is transparent, and that's the way it goes.
Wow.
Two other things, the budget that you're looking at is the budget that does not require, it's what the departments gave, and it does not require collective bargaining negotiations. We have 5 unions that we work with, is that right? 4 or 5, and it takes time to do that. The cuts that are in the proposed override budget are cuts that department heads made that did not include to go to collective bargaining. And it retains the staff as is. Everybody's just gonna have to make do in their working environment with less. As far as the elections go, at town meetings, when there's an article that says, we would like to take from free cash $35,000 for elections, which I believe is what the wording was for the elections thing that Kathy put forward, I think a year ago, because of all the override votes that were anticipated, as well as what Dawn spoke to. That money exists over fiscal years. So it does not have to be expended within the current fiscal year. It is separate from the operating budget, and that is how Kathy can zero out her postage, because she can tap into that warrant article. And if you were on capital planning, we saw a whole list of those articles, and some of them are gonna be combined to allow for things that we don't have in either free cash or capital stabilization. Because although there have been override asks, and no, they haven't passed, the town has been cutting. And one thing we haven't done, and Dawn, I know you can attest to this, is replenish capital stabilization or replenish the stabilization count. We have not been able to do that as a town for the past 5 years. We have maintained our staffing in order to provide services to the town. Now, as far as if the override doesn't pass, we can't say right now what those are. If we went out and said, oh, look at all these cuts, and we have not collective bargaining it, the town would be in a much worse place than what they are right now. That has to be collective bargaining. It is not done in public. And there's a lot of work to be done over the next few weeks. So just know that. On the 5-year budget, my last year in my last round of Select Board, we got a community compact grant for ClearGov software in order to do 5-year planning. The Select Board did that. We are very much in favor of 5-year planning. But for whatever reason, the last I heard, and I had an account to ClearGov, as did Dawn and anybody else that was on the Fincom or the Select Board at that time. But apparently nobody, somehow, I thought ClearGov was doing it, was gonna enter all the data for the last couple years. Apparently that never happened. My term ended, and apparently so did ClearGov software. Maybe Dawn can talk more to that, but I did ask that when I came back as a selectman in November, and was surprised to see that ClearGov software was not being used by the town.
The ClearGov software was a 1-year grant, we received it. The idea was to load prior year's data. Nobody was able to validate that they looked good. Everybody trying it and getting reports could not correlate the actual budget to what had been entered into ClearGov. The second year of ClearGov would require that we pay software licenses and beyond. There was nothing in the budget to continue with ClearGov. There was nothing that showed us it was of value, that it could be of value. It sounds like it should be, but there's no reason why we can't do projections in Excel with the files we have, or we can use the tools that BLS and MMA provide for a 5-year budget.
Well, how much is the ClearGov?
About $17,000 a year for the number of users we need.
Don't need it.
So that's
So
another-
another thing
it's
that
another
got dropped with budgeting. We as a town have been dropping a lot of things in order to keep the town going and the schools going together. And it is a together thing. And so to say that the Board of Selectmen does not want a 5-year plan is absolutely in error. So with that, I will go back to muting myself and let you continue your meeting. But please feel free to ask me if you have any other questions.
Okay, so it's $17,000 a year.
Correct, for the number of licenses that would be required.
How much is an Excel
Well,
contract?
it's,
Yeah, how much is the Excel?
I would say we have software licenses for Excel because we pay Microsoft
There you go.
licenses every year. But,
No.
but again, it's kind of like, the idea is that with Excel, we have found when people do insert columns or insert lines and things like that, they don't understand the interaction between those and formulas that may be there.
Well, that's
And
a
so that's
training
really-
issue on part of the
Ooh.
people
And
that are
users,
running
but
the
we,
store.
you know, those are the pieces that we
You don't let
have to work with.
departments
We
enter
don't
that.
necessarily have an Excel expert in
But,
here.
so, can I just say,
Yep.
Oh.
we would be able to get a GUI interface with Excel
Mm-hmm.
that could be
Right.
entered into by town employees pretty easily.
Yep.
That can't be messed with formulas, so that you all don't have to be using this type of, enter as you will. Everything could be entered into a very easy form using Excel. It's not that hard. I think that there's many of us that are pretty good with Excel,
I think you're
that have been
100%
offering
right.
to
Yeah.
help the community. You know, we're running pivot tables and Excel sheets
Mhm.
daily, trying to keep up with the changes. There's people that wanna help.
Yeah. No,
I think we
for
should
what it
reach out
costs.
and ask who they are, because this is crazy. This is
No.
really
No,
crazy.
it's kinda,
And
You know, to
We're-
not have good figures, to go for 12 months of the year, not know what's going on, then in January, everybody does the knee jerk. It's insane fiscally.
And I'll get this out and let you all continue your meeting, because I could probably comment a lot. As a community member, we rely on you all as FinCom. You are supposed to be the last folks that take everything and give us the recommendations on town meeting floor. You are the ones that present the budget. The fact that you don't know what's happening with the override, I don't know how you can then speak on it. I hope that we as community members can rely on you to be watching out for us. 94% of folks that were polled, it's not scientific, but they had to give their name and address. I can recognize just about everyone that did it. Their comments were not attached, but it was loud and clear that everyone wanted this discussion at town meeting. They wanted a budget that they could understand to talk about and then get behind and override. There was a group of us that were ready to get behind it. I'm gonna go back to the ARPA funds that Veronica has said cannot be reallocated. They can. National League of Cities has said so. Our own consultant, CSS, has said so. We are under the 10 million. There's different rules. I would push and say all of it can be reprogrammed, but ARPA funds said it should not be spent on reoccurring costs. New positions should not be created. The Board of Selectmen created these policies that they and only they could determine what these funds could be used for. It got snuck in under the radar that a position that would be on our tax levy, those incremental 10,000, 20,000 have been on the tax levy. They shouldn't have been. They were sneaking through at town meeting. We didn't have a line item opportunity to get rid of them. Now is the opportunity for you all as FinCom to make the recommendation that that position, this has nothing to do with the person in the role. It was not supposed to be set up as a position. ARPA was clear about that. We have the flexibility to get rid of the position and take that remaining funds and apply it to the regular positions that we have. If you were funding some of the cops with the ARPA, put it into those police officers' position and reprogram it. It's still about $120,000. That is a tremendous savings for our community members. They were never intended to be a position. Now is the time to take care of it. And I'm requesting you all as our FinCom to make that recommendation, because we cannot have one person on our board saying we're gonna keep that position. You all are supposed to be watching this, and ARPA is clear on that.
And I thank you for saying that, Kim, because we've been talking about that, and we get to the point and then we duck and then we hide. I would like to make the motion that we do make it very clear that the ARPA funds are to be not used for recurring positions, any positions in any department.
I would like to note that any position that is funded by existing ARPA funds will not be funded in FY27 because the ARPA funds will no longer be available. If you are to fund a police officer for FY26 through ARPA funds, those funds, that position is gone in FY27. Moreover, the community services coordinator left, and those funds are being put towards salary, and that should be in the recap if you got that, Dawn. I don't know what Nelson has given you. So I didn't go through those files today.
Yeah.
As far as what should be done, check the budget for FY18 and FY19, where a human resources person was in the budget and was never hired. One of the uses of ARPA funds was to use them for the community, for things that were intended to be funded but were unable to be. So we can argue the ARPA funds all we want, but those have pretty much blown the coop as the end of December, and we are applying the funds that did not go to community services for the remainder of this year because of a resignation to this current budget, which puts whoever is in that position in jeopardy for not being funded in FY27.
Correct,
So just
because
be
it's
aware
not
of that.
a
I
funded
will
position.
go
And
back
Veronica, the
So,
funding,
my liaison position.
right, the funding does not cease to be viable for our community on December 31st. You can reallocate, because of our designation under $10 million, the funding at any time. it has been confirmed by our own consultant and National League of Cities, because you did not wanna take that at face value, understood, because I wouldn't take you at face value, cause I knew you to be incorrect on this. If that position is going away anyhow, do it now, so that our community benefits from that money now. The position is going to go away. There is no reason to put that additional burden on the taxpayer, on the levy that will compound year over year. It should go away now. It has nothing to do with the person.
That will put the human resources person is not 120,000. I will start with that.
I didn't say that it was.
It's less than that. You can
It appears,
check with Nelson. It is
Veronica,
not 120,000.
I didn't say that it was. I said the remaining balances of ARPA. Plus
So
or
that
minus.
will put us $275,000 in the hole, starting out FY '27, because we used non-recurring funds, which is the free cash of 200, and the ARPA funds of 75K for FY '26. Those are non-recurring funds. So before we ever look at the FY '27 budget, we as a town are $275,000 in a hole. If you read our budget policy, it's towards the beginning. It says not to use one-time funds to fund your operating budget. And that is what we are doing. And so we can argue ARPA another time offline, Kim, but that's all I have to say on it. And I am just speaking as the liaison from the Select Board. Thank you.
You had ARPA funds for police officer positions before, so it's no different.
You have to remember that we were in a pandemic. I was a select.
It does not matter.
Of the pandemic.
Veronica, it's just
And
like it's just like we used free cash in 2013 to fund the school department. Don't say we didn't do something. Don't say it was an exception. It was done. The funds are there. It would save our tax dollars. It would help our community members. It would take $100,000, $120,000 plus or minus off the override, off compounding. It can be done. You already said you're moving the community services funding. It's no different. And if you don't want to use it for personnel, figure out how to use it for something else. It needs to be done.
I agree.
I agree too.
Can we take a vote? And then speak at the meeting and tell the town what we voted on instead of being quiet people in the back.
We can take a look. I mean, the positions are still listed in here, but it doesn't say it, and the funding is going to zero on the proposed.
Well,
But
wasn't it
doesn't
proposed
say
to
that-
fund her through FY '26?
Oh, so.
No, we were told
Yes.
originally.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
So,
It's through 26, and those of us looking at the budget, it's a sleight of hand. It looks like you made a reduction, not you all. It looks like the town made a reduction of $30,000. Oh, that looks great. It didn't. It just shifted all of our funding to ARPA.
right. And again, all of the funding has been going there, and there was 30,000 when we look at the community services coordinator.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
there was 30,000 there when we looked at the March 1st budget.
Yes.
And that went away on the budget summit on March 1st. So we have multiple iterations of the budget. What did we do in the beginning of March, and what did we eliminate? We eliminated the paving. It's kind of like there are other things that have been eliminated already.
Right.
So just looking at this budget and saying, these are the changes from the budget from special town meeting, is we have 2 iterations of what we're cutting, that need to be described.
So yet again,
not
when
just
are
the
we
one.
gonna get the real numbers?
They are real numbers. It's just that you've now got iterations, and how do you want to show that we had made a significant amount of cuts. Mainly, it was the paving money, $250,000, that we cut on the day of the budget summit, along with several other
Yeah,
items.
but when Jim Smith came and gave us his budget, he said he was just being proactive because he knew he wasn't gonna get it, so that's not,
That's
No,
not
no, no,
really
it-
it's
no,
not really a
it- but
cut.
it,
yeah.
but, well, there's several things that we have to look at. We've been trying to get money for paving, all along. We put a paving plan together in 2019
Right.
and voted if we have the funds available, we should start with 50,000 and increase it by 50,000 every year till we get up to the 250,000.
Okay, can I say something about that? I read that in the bylaws, and it doesn't say one thing about if we have the money. No.
I don't remember the word if being in the entire conversation
I'm
back
just
then.
looking up right now, and you can see it's a 2-minute deal. It does not
Take
say
your word
one
for
thing.
it. I trust you to read it exactly as it is.
So, so that's sort of disturbing, because we're getting so many different
Mhm.
pieces of information.
But my
It's like you
understanding
can't
was.
trust anything. Oh, she see it in writing.
Unless you said it right.
That's my theory on this. But I don't wanna divert too much to get
Wait,
off.
you know what,
Back in
topic, record that and go back
1918,
to it.
Take
Go
your
back to it.
pick. We had same problems with budgeting then as we have now.
Right.
And that's when we sat down and said certain things have to be maintained, and if they're not, everybody's in trouble.
Right.
One of them was the roads.
I agree 1,000%.
And then we said, okay, we will get a 5 or 10-year plan, I don't care how many years. And we will continuously take a small portion of the budget to put it into the road service so that we get a few miles a year, a few half miles a year, whatever, paved year after year after year to keep the roads passable.
Right, no, I get it, I think that
And
that's.
so therefore, there was
Mhm.
a problem the town had that, from my personal opinion, was put to bed so we could concentrate on other problems. And now I'm hearing, 6 years later, I wasted my time working on that problem because they're taking away the road business in the first place. At the same time, I've only had one piece of paper handed to me that says all of the 220 towns, or a greater portion of the 220 towns, are gonna get their pitchforks and rakes out and go on Beacon Hill and make them stand up. Not just our budget, but other cities and towns, especially towns, have over 50% of their budget is their schools. We need good schools so that we have a good future. And we're being, every time I hear what's Brad's the name of the superintendent?
Brad Morgan.
I hear him stand up at town meetings and say nice things, but, he's not saying nice things when he's saying we're going from 25 to 32 students per teacher. And yet I still see these little go-karts driving around with school bus written on the top. That's not inexpensive.
No.
I know for a fact that when the school bus comes by my house every morning, while I'm outside with coffee, there's a seat on that school bus for my daughter. And there's a seat on that school bus for her friend down, half a mile, three-quarters of a mile down the street. Both are going over to Parker. And that's not the only example, there's many of them. You go up to every school at quitting time or starting time, you see a bunch of kids get off buses and a bunch of kids get out of cars and then into the cars at the end of the day. There's a seat on one of those buses for each one of those kids. And that's a problem with Beacon Hill. Yet I have not heard anybody, except for this one piece of paper that was handed out at the town meeting, about something happening out at UMass Amherst, that, we're saying, as a community, Massachusetts community, not a North Middlesex community, not a Middlesex community, not a Worcester community, not a Townsend community, but as a state community, getting up on Beacon Hill people and telling them to fix it.
Yeah.
That,
That is, but let's go back, that's a problem, that's a real problem, but let's go back to this ARPA, business.
I just, line, carryover of funds. That pavement management funds may be carried from one year to the next, subject to availability of funds.
Are you reading the bylaws?
In the charter, yeah, bottom,
89.
This is the charter.
89.7.
Oh, okay. PM funds can be carried over 1 year, subject to the, okay,
Right.
got it.
Now, again, this gets to, do we allocate them in his operating budget, which goes away at the end of every year, versus,
Well, I think what we have to do
versus
now
in
is,
a separate,
we're in a real
separate
bind
article.
right now, because we don't have good figures, we don't know. There's issues coming up, and so I think that we have to clear the table for this year. We're in a pickle, a lot of us are new, we don't understand how they work crazy. And then I think we have to start coming out of the chute, July 1, meeting with every department on a regular basis and finding out what they're doing. Find out what they need, what they don't need. I think that is the service we need to give, because this
What-
11th hour business is not good.
but maybe we start with this year, FY 2025 is out, and we're in a home stretch of FY 25, see where the PDA is.
We could
and
do
meet with
that.
them and start that up front.
So back to the ARPA thing, I'm confused about that $30,000 that everyone's talking about,
Okay.
because
Well,
we
this-
were told,
Wasn't this the build-up, remember
Okay,
she
this
said?
is-
Yeah, the build-up.
Of the dollars to actually fund the position?
To try to, again, that gets to trying to get the 5-year out, but there was no 5-year plan put forward, it was.
But that was the build-up for those two
so
That was-
positions.
where did that money go?
So,
Okay,
if we eliminate those two opera positions,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that,
The
cause
ARPA
wasn't it like 70,000, I forget how
Eight-ish,
much.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
But-
so there's that, and then you get rid of the build-up money and return it to the general funds.
right, which is what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Is that what they're doing?
That's what they're doing here.
That's
They-
already, right, that's already been done.
Yeah.
Well, that
For one
was-
position was done, and when we look at this one, it was done for the second position
Okay.
in this version of
So,
the budget.
is the human resource position going away?
No, not at this point.
So
This
how
this
is it
just
being
the
funded
funding.
then?
It's, right now, it's ARPA funds.
Well, that's what
That's-
we're saying that needs to
We're-
go away completely, because we're not gonna have the money afterwards to continue.
Right.
That should end, if
Continue
it
it.
exists,
So,
I'm really confused
end
because
it now.
Okay.
this person is not with us anymore, this person resigned, that person, and I lose who's who.
Okay.
So we have somebody on ARPA right now,
We have somebody on ARPA right now.
so
yes.
we should terminate that as of the 31st of June or 1st of July, and take the rest of for 26, take that money and spread it to where it needs to go.
Now.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
yeah.
saying now,
Yeah.
not at the end of the fiscal.
Right.
Fine, I'm just saying.
Oh,
that-
June
yeah.
30th.
There was
June
nothing
30th.
allocated
Well,
in
that-
FY 17 or 18,
They've been adding 10,000 every year.
correct, but there was nothing in 17 or 18.
No,
But you were stowing away after that.
Well, it started
I think
in
it started with the,
25.
yeah, whatever, but,
Right.
okay, I mean,
Well, if they didn't have it funded, they
Well-
didn't need it, I guess, right? I mean, what,
they didn't
Well,
have
they-
it funded,
they-
and they don't have the money to continue it.
well, yeah, it's like, wow, if I
So-
didn't have all the
Correct.
things I wanted
So
without money.
why are we
Mhm.
prolonging this, take the money
Aggravating.
now
Yeah,
and
I agree.
return it?
so we should make this motion so that when we get, so you can get up and speak at the town meeting and tell us what we recommend.
Yeah. Get up at town meeting, make sure you bring your armor, because it's not that it's
No, I think
bulletproof.
we should do, I think we should make that motion, that the ARPA funds be returned now, or what's the word?
Reallocated.
Reallocated now. And,
See how they can be reallocated.
and this is a recommendation by Fincom. We don't have to ask permission to do this.
No, we don't.
So that gets us what, 75,000, is that what that
No.
position is?
Well, no, I think it's
Okay,
more
no,
than that.
No, okay, so are we talking FY 25 and how much?
No, I'm talking for FY 26,
Yeah.
That would be
That would
about
get you the whole
73,000.
salary.
73,000.
But what about the build-up money?
Didn't build up
The
money.
build-up
The
money's
build-up
already
money's
been-
gone.
Is already
In the
gone.
budget.
It's already
They've taken
gone.
they've taken the build-up money and it's gone. In the past years, the build-up money
It's still
became
there.
part of free cash, and that's part of the free cash number that was certified.
Plus, what I
in January.
I understand if the insurance is not funded out of, like health insurance, is not funded out of the ARPA fund, so it comes from the town.
It does, yeah.
So that would be another savings.
Oh, you mean, the benefits that go along with these
Well,
positions?
right, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you would save not only the salary, but you'd save on the
The
providing the
benefits,
benefits
right.
for those two positions.
Excuse me, is our insurance based on anything more than a bunch of people?
Health insurance is the number of people and the estimated,
Do we get a reduction in health insurance? Don't we pay for health insurance ahead of time?
no, I think it's a
Well-
quarterly invoice.
Yeah, for what we about to do.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
yeah, and I don't know if they have to provide numbers by month, like,
Well, regardless, it would be, you know, put that money on to the uses it's needed. I'm not gonna say better uses, I'm just gonna say uses where it's needed.
okay, so I'm making a motion, can I make a motion?
you can make a
Okay,
motion.
go
Can I
ahead,
make a motion, turn ARPA funds,
return or reallocate.
reallocate, sorry, I keep saying return. Reallocate ARPA funds for FY twenty-five,
FY 25,
26.
current
No,
and,
current.
and future,
25
Five
and
and
26.
Oh, you want,
for
okay.
the, human resources manager.
Reallocate.
Line item 8.
Do we wanna do both the resource
When
in
do
the,
you use line
in
items?
the,
These department
coordinator?
numbers.
That one here is only FY 25.
Okay, so it'd be the human resource manager.
Now,
Where did the
are there
balance
other,
get
are there other,
reallocated to, Dom? Where did the resource manager get reallocated to?
It has
Because-
not been determined where we're gonna reallocate it to.
One
Thank
other
you.
thing that you guys, and the selectmen need to be reminded of as you start cutting things, that we're self-funded for unemployment.
Right.
So we don't,
Additional cost.
like, if you have a regular job that is funded by unemployment, you're paying the town would be paying an insurance number to unemployment, as does the employee, right, on your paycheck. But we do not do that as a town, we self-fund it, so you would, if somebody gets laid off and they decide they don't get another job right away and they're gonna collect unemployment, they'll go down to the unemployment office or do it online or whatever, but the bill will come back to the town, but whatever unemployment is paying the former employee, the town has to reimburse the state for. So if somebody gets like if you have a $100,000 employee and let's say their unemployment amount is 50,000 just on an annual basis, then the town has to pay the 50,000 as an annual basis, that's not the amount, but.
Right.
No, I get it.
So-
But this contest, I mean, you can appeal this, correct?
Well, no, if we're laying somebody off,
Oh,
That's-
we.
yeah.
Oh, I see, the
It's
layoff
not
is-
appealable.
I got it, okay.
We would, the state, the employee, if they don't get another job right away, and that's any employee, and
Right.
even if some of these people that might quit because of the 20% cut, they could go to unemployment and ask if this is big enough to qualify. Like, I had to leave my job because they cut my pay too much. I don't know if I have no idea what the rules of unemployment are.
I don't know
But
where they are anymore
Yeah.
But if we lay somebody off altogether, we have to make sure that we budget for, you might not need to budget a whole 50,000, but you need to budget, whatever I don't know what the percentage
Isn't
is.
that money kept somewhere? Doesn't
No,
the
no,
state-
no,
Okay,
no,
okay.
no.
Do you-
The
do you-
state doesn't
hang-
make
time-
15,000
time out.
in our
Do you
unemployment
want
account in the
to
town.
learn about unemployment,
15?
or they?
Well, that's not gonna go.
Well, I
on.
understand
That's
the
not a-
unemployment,
Okay,
That's not a-
but
It's for a
it's
period of
it's
time.
it's an employer-only tax.
15?
It is not an employee tax. And
I
the employer
understand
puts
that.
in
Yeah, we
there's
cover
two
those.
methods. You can put in based on a percentage of your payroll quarterly,
correct?
which the town doesn't do.
They don't
So
do
when
taxes.
a employee
Okay,
is
what's the
let go
percentage of that?
and
It's specifically like 75.
unemployment is paid, we are responsible for the entire bill for the unemployment.
And we don't
And for
have
the
to keep a
duration.
kitty, the state does not require that you keep a kitty?
That's where you make your
What's that
determination.
account?
We as an employer decided that we wanna
I
do
keep
it if we lay
reminding
somebody
you,
off to
yes,
pay the
yes,
entire
yes.
bill when it comes due, rather than putting money into a kitty.
Okay, so how long can somebody collect
No, there's no kitty
unemployment?
in
I
our
believe
budget.
it's minimum
Yes.
26, it had been extended to 39 at certain.
It's 26.
26
26
weeks?
now.
26 weeks?
Yes.
So they're talking about all these people being cut. Are they
Right-
ready for
right
that?
now, you're talking about a motion where it's really one person, so it's kinda like, so.
You'd still
We
be
start
saving
with
money,
that.
unemployment is less than her total compensation
Right,
package.
yeah,
Right.
it'll be less than her,
It-
than
yeah,
the,
it would-
the money.
And
Right,
it's
but I don't
quite
think you can
time.
use ARPA
Yes.
funds to pay that, so that has to come out of other funds in the budget.
But then you can take that ARPA money and put it to someplace else in the budget.
Well, couldn't you pay unemployment with it?
You said you
I
can't
don't,
use it.
believe you can.
Not directly, but indirectly.
Yeah.
I guess indirectly.
Reducing other funds.
So are we handcuffed to this, is this what I'm
The
hearing?
money,
It's my
No,
understanding
no.
right now in the budget that there would be enough to pay that person's unemployment for the 26 weeks. My hope would be that we don't have to lay any other employees off. If the Board of Selectmen would have stopped and done a real budget, we would have been really helpful in trying to get it to pass first time around. Unfortunately, what's gonna happen is, I don't know whether it will pass or not. Likelihood probably not. We'll have to go to a second one, and hopefully that everyone could get it perfect and all correct, so that it will pass and no employees will have to get laid off, the hope. But taking that money and reallocating it and using it to pay, I would suggest the cops, if they were paid for already out of ARPA funds, use that 120 plus or minus, give it to the chief, reallocate his line item to other budget line items.
Let him make the decision.
But we're not gonna get the full amount
Right, and
that we save by
No,
by eliminating that position. We can really only count on half of it if we're liable for 26 weeks of unemployment.
Okay.
there's
Well,
unemployment in a different fund in the town. It's already sitting there.
right, it's in the insurances, it's kinda like, but that.
Yeah, there's 15,000. That's not gonna cover 26
But that makes
weeks.
sense, what
Yes,
you're
it will.
saying. What she's saying makes sense, there's insurance
sounds-
policy to cover the unemployment, right, is that what I heard you say?
I don't know how much she's paying, but they give,
It
did
will,
this
it
thing
will,
at
it
30,000
will cover it
for her,
fairly closely.
and half of 30,000
No,
is
but
15.
the 30, no,
Correct.
But
her salary is ARPA funded at 73,000.
Anyways, so in the long run, it's
Right.
gonna save money.
It will.
Eliminating it at the minimum for 2026 will save money.
Yes.
Right.
Because
It
you
will
all
save
are-
money, but it won't be the full amount.
Can I tell you?
Right.
We know.
When you don't pay her at the end of it, you are gonna have to pay her more because they are giving her an increase. So whether you do it this year or next year, that $15,000 is going to pay that person when they get laid off. Bite the bullet and do it now. It is
Yeah.
a bad idea to hire an employee with ARPA funds.
I remember that, I come
Just-
before.
That's right,
Agree,
because.
100%.
Under the ARPA funds.
Yeah.
Because that's right, because if we wait till
Correct.
26 to get
And
to
the
this,
townspeople made it very clear we
it's laid
didn't
off
want
to
to.
get even more
Correct.
money, so.
It was a bad
It's better now.
idea.
Plus, I don't know if she was told when, cause ARPA funds wasn't a permanent position anyways.
So the longer she stays, the more comes out
Yep,
of unemployment.
I get that.
I'm sorry that I'm.
Yep.
No,
No,
I-
no.
And then you
disrupting
use
the
all,
meeting,
you
but this
use
is a
all the
really-
ARPA funds in 26.
Yeah, it's, to me, this is,
And someone has to tell us.
this
I
is
mean,
an issue that needs to be like a citizen petition at the Board of Select, and this has nothing to do with the person. I feel terrible for the person that is in this position, to be in this position.
Well, we put her in the position when we hired her,
Yes.
and we knew it.
Well, we
Yes.
didn't,
No,
we
we-
were against
we-
it.
I think the we.
Yeah.
We who were here at
We
the
were
time,
here,
seized
I
the
was-
argued
treatment.
against putting
Yes.
a line in the budget for $0.
Oh,
but it was-
FinCom did.
FinCom did.
Yes.
And the
Anyway,
Board of Selectmen didn't
Yes.
listen to us.
We have
Yet
put
again,
our
At the
town
again.
in a
At the time,
terrible
it was put in the
position.
budget,
Yeah.
it
And the
was,
longer the
Welcome
position
aboard.
stays,
When you
the
join
worse
up,
it
you
gets.
find that you're
Gotcha.
responsible for
I
somebody else's
agree, and I
actions.
would really
More
like the
unemployment.
motion to be seconded if anyone's
At the
interested.
end, no ARPA funds returned.
What's the
to
motion again,
reallocate.
quickly?
Correct,
Okay,
because the highest
the
someone
motion
can get
is
paid
to
a week, if you go on and do the
reallocate the
calculations,
human
is
resource manager.
$1,251.
And it's not more,
Well-
it's not, it's
Position, I
much
guess I
more
should
than
put-
the ARPA money.
ARPA,
The
ARPA.
effect on the budget going forward.
Yeah.
The fact
Right,
that
right.
there's not
We can't
transparency,
afford that position.
Yeah, but don't we have to say
and I'll
something
say
about,
this directly to the Board of Selectmen
retire this
liaison
person?
it's on, that there's
No.
not transparency to our townspeople that we are
We're just
paying.
saying, that's all the
health
motion
insurance.
needs to say, is reallocate the
Yeah,
resource.
that can't be covered.
recommend to the Board of Selectmen to
Yeah.
reallocate.
Reallocate.
That was how it started.
Okay,
Yeah.
Reallocate.
to reallocate,
And leave it up to them what to do with that person?
yeah, I guess, right.
I guess the
Without a
implication.
recommendation?
Okay, so so the motion should read, recommend to the Board of Selectmen to reallocate the Human Resource Manager ARPA funds for FY 25-26.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the way.
Well, I mean, effectively that.
And
that
terminate the
eliminates-
position.
Terminate the position, right? 'Cause if you're
Immediately.
reallocating the funds, you have to say
Oh,
to
okay.
terminate the
June
position.
30th.
June 30th.
Do we?
End of the.
No,
I'm
should
all in favor of saying terminate the
should be
position.
now.
I think you have to, if you're
Yeah,
saying
you still get some of that
reallocating the
money
funds
back
to
from
pay for the
this.
position, you
Right.
gotta terminate
You
it.
no
need
money.
to say that part of it, it's not
Yeah.
implied, okay.
Okay, recommend to the Board of.
I feel
Terminate
bad.
the
Terminate the position and then take the money and put it someplace else.
Terminate and reallocate the hours.
Right.
Terminate.
Are we given a date of termination?
No.
That's their job.
They have to, and again, it's a recommendation from us.
Well, I understand it's a recommendation, I
Okay.
get
We
it.
going on that?
Okay, so it's gonna say, recommend to the Board of Selectmen to terminate the Human Resource Manager position and reallocate the ARPA funds for FY 25-26.
Correct.
Right, and the reason why we're doing that is different than the coordinator, because there's only ARPA funds through 26,
Okay.
25,
In
sorry.
that position, she's already vacated it, so there's nobody in it.
No, but, well, could they hire somebody else in?
Well, I hope they
Well,
don't.
no,
Well, but that, I
Then-
think.
So,
then-
let's,
well,
so
well-
let's do,
No,
let's
I
do
think
this
it-
motion and then we'll do another motion.
I agree,
Stop
because
next.
it's position by position.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, so, all right, so this one's good now, right?
Dawn, I have a question.
Yeah.
Has anybody on your board even read the job description for the human resources, manager?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Why
It's
would
not
we-
relevant.
Oh, it doesn't
No,
matter.
I'd say no, they
So who will
haven't
be
read.
doing that job, should we need to lay off people? Who is doing the work I just wanna remind you all that when I stepped into Board of Selectmen in 2020,
It's on the
there were
budget
at
too.
least 5 lawsuits against the town. There are none now. There
Do you
were,
really wanna bring that up,
cases
Veronica? I'll
where-
talk about the lawsuits if
Oh
you'd
my
like.
God.
No.
straightforward is we were done differently.
Veronica.
Read the job description,
Okay.
The town administrator always did the role of what the human resource person is doing now, and there's no reason why a town of our size, as town administrator, can't do that work.
Right.
And Veronica, you and I have already had the conversation multiple times that the school department is willing to be a resource, shall it be needed. We didn't have it.
I'm sorry, Kim, but I have seen nothing from the school department on that. So I am not exactly sure where that information is coming from.
And again, I think you're going across municipal entities or governmental entities.
But this is
and
our
others.
meeting, FinCom, we should be able to make our motions and make our votes, correct?
Yes.
Without being sort of
Yeah.
chastised
No,
by the
we-
Board of Selectmen liaison?
Yeah.
I just feel
We-
that we've been pushed aside for now 2 months, and
No,
2 weeks,
she's just-
2 nights a week for 2 months of my time is starting to wear on.
It's just because something can be done, doesn't mean it shouldn't have been done. The position should never have been hired, I don't care what the job description says.
I agree with you.
As a
1000%.
taxpayer, we are levying up if that stays in on something that shouldn't be in any form.
Now, are we gonna look at all the positions, like you said, Dave, after that are ARPA funded? I don't know if there's any other ones.
All the others have been fully funded now by the budget, except for maybe one position at the senior center.
Well, okay.
We'd have to take a look
We'd have
at
to take a
that.
look at that, cause
Yep.
we gotta be across the board.
Yeah, it's gonna be consistent.
Yeah, cause I'm not doing the,
We need
across
to
the board,
revisit
20% except for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
It's across the board or it isn't. So, alright, so what's next?
Okay,
Well,
so
we had the
Okay,
motion.
we had the motion, we had a second. Any further discussion on
on the human resource
the human
position.
resources?
Terminate and reallocate the
Well,
funds.
recommend.
Recommend
Okay.
termination
Yeah.
and reallocate.
Okay,
We don't have the authority to,
But of the position, not the person.
okay,
Correct.
so,
They
do
can figure out how to take care of that.
you want me to do the second motion?
No,
We
we
have to
didn't
vote
vote
on
on
the
it.
first, we have to vote on the first one.
Oh, we have to vote, that's right,
Right.
sorry, forget about that part.
okay, so we would, voting in the affirmative would be to recommend to Board of Selectmen that the position be terminated and the ARPA funds reallocated for the remainder of FY '25 and FY '26, for the,
Human Resources
Management.
Administration
Position.
position. Alright, Mary Jane Churchville, yes.
David Walker, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Carol Hofstas, yes.
Don Hayes, gonna abstain on this one.
Okay.
So it seems like we should probably do a motion to eliminate the community services coordinator
Yes, I
as well.
agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even though there's nobody in the position
There's
currently.
nobody in the position, but I haven't seen it posted, but it could, I don't know, I haven't seen anything about
Yeah, it
making
could
any
be
open
filled.
positions and not filling them.
So
Yeah, I think
Let's
so.
protect not filling it.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
so.
All right.
we would-
I'll do,
Let's you're gonna suggest?
I'll make the motion to recommend to the Board of Selectmen to terminate the Community Services Coordinator position and reallocate the ARPA funds for the remainder of FY '25 and FY '26.
I don't, we'll double check on the 26th, I don't think there's anything
Oh,
on that.
okay,
I
for the remainder of
believe-
FY
I believe
'25.
the ARPA fund
Yeah.
would take.
Yeah, I
it
think
from-
you're right, so just for the remainder of FY '25.
I second the motion.
Okay, so we had a motion to recommend the termination of the Community Services Coordinator. Wait a second. Any further discussion? None being heard, the vote in the affirmative would be to recommend to the Board of Selectmen to terminate the Human Services Coordinator and reallocate the remaining ARPA funds for the FY '25.
Right.
Roll call vote.
Mary Jane Churchville, yes.
David Walker, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Carol Hofstas, yes.
Don Hayes, yes.
Alright, so that matters. So we're gonna, now, at the, town meeting, we read these recommendations out, correct?
We can read them out, normally we have placed them in,
Well, I do
in the
think
form, but I
that,
think budget wise, I was thinking it should be line by line this year, which is as best we can.
well, I do think that we need to stand up at these meetings and speak, because we're getting an awful lot of bad press. And we work as hard as anyone else, and I think that we have to get up and let everyone know that we are here, that we are doing the job, and we want our voice heard.
You guys should be getting it on Facebook too.
Nope,
Oh,
What?
nope, not a place.
oh, I don't have
Well,
Facebook.
no, it's kinda like, if we were gonna post it, we're gonna post it on the finance website, on the finance page on the
Oh,
website,
okay.
on the town website.
Alright. I wanna stand up.
Um,
Okay,
Well, an individual can tell everybody where to go
mm,
to find it.
okay, so that motion, now, are we gonna address, the school issue with a motion or no?
The
The
school
school,
issue.
what's,
What's the
Um,
school issue?
well, I think it's
Yeah, I know.
a clarification of.
Clarification, point of
Um,
clarification.
Yeah, it's kinda like I'm scrolling down to get to,
Oh, okay. Oh, because of the way it's worded on the
because of the way
ballot,
it sounds like it's worded on
so
the
on the
ballot.
override.
Yep. So we can see on columns G and H, the amount.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to watch the YouTube and look for it, so we can know what the language
It's-
is.
Right, yeah. Yeah. So, when we look at the columns for the education,
Uh-huh.
G is what it was as of the March special town meeting.
Right.
And column H is what is moving forward to, so
Right.
there's no change
no change in that.
in the,
Not by a
in the amount.
penny.
And those are the full assessed values from both schools.
Mm-hmm.
I think, again, the reasoning behind this, the wording is that all of the lines in this omnibus budget are paid from the general fund. And so I think it's just making a statement that every line in here is paid from the general fund. it's kind of like there is no,
But maybe they could put a little note there.
that's what I'm saying, is by the notes, with it, there's no change, and because it's paid from the same funds that pays every other
Okay,
line
yeah,
in
because
here.
there are notes in different
Right,
spots.
right. But this would be Fincom, a column with Fincom.
But the ballot comes before the town meeting, so how the heck can we really tell everybody?
Well, there's an information meeting on April 16th at the high school,
Oh,
so all of
but
this.
that's a Board of Selectmen meeting, correct?
It's Board of Selectmen, but I don't see why Finance Committee wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
To be able to answer questions.
If I remember correctly, it ended up on my calendar.
Okay.
I wrote it down the last time we were here, and I go home and my wife tells me, sends me emails saying, invitation to this meeting and that meeting and the other meeting. I even know when the bloody
So-
election is,
Right.
without looking at
So
my
we
notes.
need to go look at the Board of Selectmen, so we know what the language is.
Correct, and then we can make the motion.
Right, so we'll,
Once we have that.
Okay.
right, so that's an action we'll
She
take.
said it 1900.
So that's an
Who's
action.
gonna volunteer to watch the Board of Selectmen?
I will.
Okay, good.
Watch it or be there?
I know.
Oh, and get the
Because I-
capture the wording.
Yeah, capture the
What,
wording.
what throne do they sit on that they don't give us the piece of paper that they've passed?
Well, they didn't create a piece of paper, I don't think.
Then
They
It's
set
all
the
about the
wording. They-
throne, you were right, Sam, that was proper language.
Mhm.
Okay, so, I have a couple of, are we all done? Does anyone, I mean, I don't wanna.
We can.
Well,
no,
we're in
Well, I
the-
don't know
we can-
if anyone else wants.
We're in
to
discussion
say.
of the budget, so.
Okay, so I have a couple of
Yeah,
things
but
that
maybe
are
it's
a little bit,
Even past the BOS section.
confusing to me.
Okay.
No
Yes.
problem.
Actually, I have this really
Changes
long
within
list.
that.
Okay, so I thought that we were not hiring anybody, but that, for conservation, but I guess we did. And then they were hired at a certain amount recently, and then FY '26, they got bumped.
Didn't everybody get a 4% bump for
Well,
FY '26?
I don't
Right
know the,
now,
I'm just,
yeah.
I
Yeah,
wanna know
no,
the answer to
I-
that, why was that bumped?
Well, it seems, because it was just hired, so
Well,
why
that's
would he
what I
get
mean.
about, what?
Right.
How would you get a raise
It's-
before you've been?
It's a bump in the
Here.
position. I don't know what the salary is that they paid coming in, but they budgeted for the position for the full year in FY '25, and so they bumped it for FY '26.
Oh.
If there's not a
Oh,
review and
okay,
a
I
bump
understand.
in the
Oh,
salary,
I see, okay.
it's
Yeah,
kind of-
okay, I see, yeah, I get.
It's a planning, it's a planning.
I
thing.
see.
It's not saying that he's gonna get the bump. I don't know what the rules are, we can read the HR.
But I see what you're saying, so that explains it, I mean,
Right.
sometimes we have to ask questions so we know.
No, 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 that's
what's going on. Okay, that's that one,
Okay.
and then, the Board of Selectmen, they had, other supplies,
Mm-hmm.
line 17.
Correct.
They had other supplies, $300, and then on 22, they had other charges.
Yeah.
And on 13, they had professional services, but not identified. I mean, not that I wanna be picky, but, you know, before we cut people, I'd like to
Mhm.
cut things, you know, if we're gonna do
Right.
cuts.
So,
So,
when we looked at the lines, the office supplies were cut from 2,500 to 1,250.
yes,
In the Board of Selectmen, the other charges were 3,000 in parts.
2-0, okay.
So,
So we
Yeah.
don't care.
That
If it's
line
0,
item.
we don't care.
well, but it was 3,000 and now it's 0, so they cut.
Okay,
They cut a total of, what, 4,250
right,
from
okay.
their expenses.
So, I had a question down
Mhm.
on line 37, which is the accountant's salaries.
Okay, before we get there were two other lines talked about here, the professional services for the 5,000 for the town reports.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, the
okay.
town
Okay.
report, yeah.
Right, so that's the printing
Yeah.
of the town reports.
Printing.
So, that is unchanged and that's the
Yeah.
5,000. The other line was the other supplies at 300.
Yeah.
Okay. I just get nervous when I
Yep.
see other, cause it's very vague.
Right, yep.
Okay. That's good, so you wanna go to the accounting?
Well, I just had a question, because, okay, it says FY 25 approved is 52,837.
Mhm.
But when she submitted the worksheet, it was 64,396.
Right.
So how come they're showing 52 when she's actually getting paid the 64? And,
No, wait, are you in the
Okay.
right line?
Okay,
This
so.
is like so confusing.
Yeah.
well, I think,
No, no,
unless
it's
that's
kinda-
not the
so-
right line, but,
Okay, so
26.
for
I
no,
like the intersection
37.
of town accountant and then as of the. annual-
37?
37.
Where it says accounting salary, town accountant, deputy town accountant. There's
But
only one
remember-
person.
Yeah, but remember she was taking classes and
Okay,
her
so,
Yeah,
deal
but,
was,
but I'm saying here it says, but where is the
oh.
worksheet? The worksheet that she submitted
was
for her
higher,
current
higher than
for
52.
her current salary was 64,392, and then her request for FY 26 was 75. So my question is, if her current salary is 64 something, why are they only saying 52 something?
Because that was what was in the BVA last, when the budget was passed at town meeting in May of 23 for the FY 24, it was set at the 52,837.
Yeah, but if she's actually getting paid 64 something, shouldn't that
She
be
was.
reflected in the budget? I mean, we're trying to balance the budget, and if we don't have actual correct figures, how can we ever balance the budget?
They've done it.
Well, yeah.
Right, and that's.
And that's only just going back and looking at the
Right.
worksheet, 'cause I thought it was, I remember from talking to her, and that's not the raise, that's what she's getting.
That's what she's getting, and if we look at the BVA, it will reflect that it's closer to the 64, so when she started the year, it was closer, the annual would have been the 52.
But because
Right
we're
now.
trying to balance a budget,
Mhm.
shouldn't it reflect the actual dollars that they're receiving
I-
today? Because otherwise, we're never gonna be able to figure out what the budget is.
Right, and I think what you'll see here, and I don't have all the background in it, that they have adjusted the FY 26 budget to 66,973.
That's all?
Yes,
Yes.
and it had been in the FY 26 that we saw at the beginning.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it's 74,397. So when we look, again, we look at columns G and H, that's what it's showing. And
So it
Well-
looks like she's getting a raise, but she's not, she's getting
she's,
Oh, she's getting a tiny raise.
tiny, well,
But I
okay,
thought
yeah,
that
teeny
the whole,
tiny, yeah,
but,
tiny.
well, wait a minute,
I-
I thought that the money was coming off of Markham because of the certifications and the experience that she was taking, or
right,
obtaining.
she's
And the
picking
scales
up.
were gonna balance
Mhm.
at some point.
That's what we had, and I
Yeah, that's
believe
what she has,
that has
yeah.
changed, and we.
Oh, that's changed.
Yes.
And we need to get the update on it, but the only thing we have is the numbers.
But I still wanna see real numbers and not.
It would be nice
I
to see
think
real
these-
numbers,
I think these
but
are-
who cares about the numbers, they change all the time.
Okay.
So,
All right, that's my only.
I guess,
Right.
no, but I think that it's important, while we look at these numbers and while we are FinCom, and I know you guys are all number people, but I think we also have to remember that these numbers impact human beings in a lot of different ways, and our pocketbooks, and I think we have to mesh them both together. So if she has some kind of a transaction with the town, be it verbal or written, I understand writing, statute of frauds and all that, but, if we told her she was gonna do this and she is acting in good faith, taking these classes, going to this thing, and then we renege on it, that's not a good look.
My understanding is she's still working on it, the training is still in here, it has been reduced by 500 from 2,500 to
I saw that,
2,000.
so maybe she's making her own
She's
statement.
still taking the training and trying to get fully certified as a town accountant.
So what happened, so do we get a deduction on Markham, is that the account?
That's still the Markham is still sitting at 25, so when we look at what Markham was last year, line 46, it was 48,000 last year, and it's down to 25,000 now. So she has continued to pick up,
Line 46?
like, sorry, line 43, it's kind of like, it's line 46
Accounting,
and
accounting.
Oh,
Yeah.
professional and tech
43.
services.
professional and tech services.
See,
So
they
you-
should say Markham there.
It does in the notes, I believe, and SZA, which is in the
So-
name,
So they were 46.5,
yeah.
and then they were 48, and now
Yeah.
they're down to 25.
Now they're, right,
Okay, so
and
that's.
they were even higher than that in the earlier years, because
And-
they were doing our full town accountant. It was before we had an assistant town accountant.
So those tech services have been taken up by the accountant and her assistant.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there an assistant, or is it
There-
just one?
There is, we have assistant town accountant, which is Katie, and then we have the admin, which is Lee O'Brien,
Oh,
in the accounting office.
Oh, okay.
oh,
So when we look at it, it says support staff.
Supports those.
Oh,
two
okay.
supports.
so which one is Katie?
Katie is the,
Accountant.
it's listed as town accountant, deputy town accountant.
Okay, just so we know.
Yep.
Okay, that takes care of that.
Oh, and she's non-union, so they could bring her number down from 74 to
Contract.
66 without having to. Now, does she have her own contract though?
I believe she has a contract, I don't know for sure.
Now, on this whole matter of dues and membership that's
Mm-hmm.
scattered throughout the whole thing.
Yep.
500, 300, 200. Are they per person? Is it required by the state of Massachusetts? Is there any wiggle room in any of those?
We have already decreased quite a few of them. We didn't decrease ours because we had one dues and that, and we use it for not only the dues and the memberships, but we also used it for the printing of the manuals this year.
Oh, right.
So it's kinda like, so sometimes there's a little bit, but let me just, sorry. Just to take a look. So, definitely, I mean, we can see column H is reducing, some of them.
Let's
And
see, what is this?
bringing back, eliminating on
Okay.
Board of Assessors,
So would Katie, the accountant, be considered accounting department assistant? Because if she is, then she's under the union.
No, she's assistant town accountant.
Okay, whatever accounting department, okay,
Right.
whatever
Very,
that is.
I was gonna say very similar to the treasurer has a contract.
Okay.
And heads the department, and then the others are in the union,
Okay.
reporting to her.
Okay.
Okay, now, can we skip down to this one? 108.
MIS professional purchase services.
Professional and purchase services on 108.
Mm-hmm.
And then 109 is other purchase services. So do we have a breakdown of what they actually are, those services? Cause last time we asked, we said, oh, that's a guardian and that's,
Mm-hmm.
okay, cool, but what are they actually doing? Because we also have another person doing, kind of running
Yeah, they're,
$3,000, I think it was.
yeah, the 3375.
So the running
So
interference.
Right, it's kinda like keeping our hours down for Guardian, because the contract for Guardian is 40 hours a month, of support time.
For $160,000 a year?
No, it's kinda like, it's for everything, they run.
We have a breakdown on that.
We can ask for it, we get the contract,
I think it would be
that we
good.
have.
Yeah.
Yep, and again, last year we asked for it, this year we'll ask for it again, we wanna
Oh, we didn't
see-
get it when we asked for it last year?
What's that?
The contract for Guardian.
Actually, to
I
separate
think it's like,
hardware
did I
from
print it?
software, because we're paying Guardian for our Microsoft licenses. And so they, on a monthly basis, so just gets to look at everything we have.
Well, I just think we should take a look at as
Yep.
Fincom.
Maybe I can
Yep.
print that one out. They're all I printed all the contracts.
All the contracts that you
Except for
define.
that one.
I don't know,
Yeah.
oh,
I don't think I have
Mhm.
that one, but I
Yeah.
printed all the contracts that
So
were
that,
fine.
that's the big one, that monthly, monthly contract is for 40 hours. They will do our whole network. When we have new equipment coming in, they prepare the network. They prepare it to be loaded and integrated safely into the network. When we added the new printers, copiers, whatever you wanna call them, onto the network, they set them up, make sure that they have the right,
oh, do you have questions?
security software.
Done.
So, given the amount of people that we have and given the amount of that contract, couldn't we have a person and actually have a person that can do the websites for the entire town? Cause as you were mentioning last time, I know the library is self-contained, but we have other little websites going on and other departments paying web. It just seems a lot of money for the amount of computers and the amount of, web installations or printer installations, that we could have somebody here to do those things. Again, I don't know the answer to that, but I would
Anybody
like for
qualified
FinCom to
would
explore that.
Probably be in that range for a single salary.
Right, and again, web and web maintenance is different than security and security maintenance and that, so there's a lot of different,
Web is a different contract.
yeah, the web is a
Just
contract
saying,
under,
I
yeah.
can install my own stuff, my own security, do my own
Mhm.
printers, and do my own website, so maybe there is somebody.
I think if we saw what there was there, we could
Mhm.
make an intelligent decision.
And
Right,
just might be
and-
something that we
Yeah,
wanna look at.
no,
Yeah,
it's
a
kinda
lot,
like,
a lot.
we've had lots of questions about that. They offer round-the-clock support, and so if I don't know that you're gonna get that when you hire somebody.
No, yeah, but
And it's probably, I talked about being a person that runs the IT department and probably a tech with them, so it'd probably be a two-person hire, not
we
one.
go
big
much
company.
over that.
Don, do they do the PD and fire too?
No, PD and fire do their own.
So PD, fire, and library all do their own.
Correct, yeah.
So why would we hire one to do everybody in town?
Right, yep.
I don't know.
No, that's,
We don't know the
I mean,
answer. That's a question we should
Yeah.
be looking into. Okay, so, now I have another one, 265. I 150% don't understand it. Maybe you talked about it before, but it
Mhm.
says police other stipend certificate Quinn, parents, and then
Yeah.
it was 25, 80,000, and then it was 117, what happened? That's a jump.
That is, I don't know why it took such a large jump.
Then it says proposed cut is the 117.
It's still, yeah.
So they take it
If
either
it's
way.
still hot,
No, it's still no, that's just saying with proposed cuts, this line is going nowhere. It's staying, it's not highlighted yellow to be a cut or an
Okay.
increase. It's sitting in here
Oh,
as,
so then we need to know why did it jump so much?
I think we should be asking that question,
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah.
Dave?
and
Dawn, can I answer that question?
you can, because I know you're liaised with them too, yeah.
If you remember, when we looked at the police department salary, Lieutenant Peach, everything was fit into one line for him. And we requested at one of our joint meetings that Chief Sartell split
Mhm.
that out, so that it was only salary on Lieutenant Peach's line. We did this in a joint meeting,
Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
I
all of
remember.
you there.
I remember.
And so, if you look at the pages that you have in your notebooks for the lieutenant, you will see numbers for all of these other things. After that request, those items were split out into the appropriate categories in the police line items. And that is the reason for those increases. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So is Quinn a person or is that a thing?
Quinn is a thing.
The law.
It's the Quinn bill.
Oh, Quinn bill, okay.
Yeah.
Well, the Quinn bill went away.
Oh,
It was an
okay.
education incentive that was given to law enforcement, and it went away, and some communities kept it, and I was just reading the contract to see whether we kept it or not, cause I had the same question
Mhm.
Oh,
as to why it went, from 80 to 117.
Right, and again, that was, it was as
so do we
Monica
keep
said,
it?
Well,
I believe
Yeah.
we have kept.
We have
we
kept,
maintain the Quinn for the people that had it, but it is not a law anymore, the Quinn bill went away.
Oh, I see, okay,
We
so we
continue-
don't have to
We
keep it.
continue to pay an incentive to our police officers
Correct.
who have
Correct.
achieved different levels of college degrees in law enforcement or criminal justice and related fields.
Oh, I see, so.
The state used to reimburse us, but they don't do that anymore.
Well,
But it- but
the
it
state
should-
doesn't do a lot.
Right, but then should it be accurately reflected that the lieutenant's salary is,
is adjusted down, to compensate for that
Right.
move.
so is his delta
It
the
should be more transparent than this.
$37,000 more than the 100 that's there? That should
Errol,
reflect-
you have the contracts there, if you looked at the police contract, this is something that is bargained, and
It's-
it is in the police contract and has been,
And-
as far as I've seen those
And
contracts.
It's fine, but typically it would just be footnoted to
Right.
say what it is.
Well,
And
yeah,
so-
Transparency is still nice.
Mhm.
The number that we had in the worksheet for the stipend certification line item was 90,000.
Mhm.
So it's gone up 27. His salary was listed at 120 and that's gone down to 100.
So,
But it
so
is
the
not.
20 yeah,
Okay.
yeah, thank you. It's
So,
like I said,
so it's
yeah.
reduced more.
Yeah,
Because of this.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dave.
But it actually hasn't.
Yeah.
right, the
We
net
added
of-
27,000 to one line item, well, okay,
Right,
yeah,
so-
you're right, we added, no, 17,000, no, 20,000,
No.
27,000.
There's
Yeah.
37 that got added to the Quinn.
No, it's 20,000
So,
from the original FY 26 request, I'm not talking about the 25 number, I'm talking about the
You
original.
have to look at it from a citizen's perspective. If a citizen looks at the salary of the
Mhm.
lieutenant, the 26 request looks like 100,000. But there is,
Mhm.
appears now from this discussion, 37,000 that is in the Quinn. Which if that's his contract, that's fine, just footnote it so people know.
right, it's kinda like, and again, rather than straight salary,
No, you should have put.
I think
all the
for-
other
At the bottom,
Quinn
you can have it
lines,
in the budget book.
I know.
For all the other officers that get it,
We're on the same page.
it was on that line, and we asked the chief to move it from the salary
for
line.
all of the police officers.
For all of the police officers, including Lieutenant Peach, instead of being included in his salary, we asked it to be on a separate line. So that we know salary specifically, and then the line reflects.
Okay,
Lieutenant
this doesn't
Peach's
tell us
Quinn.
what police officers have,
So
get it.
it probably would
No,
have been better
it-
to have the salary, the basic salary, and then a line underneath saying, if he got
Mhm.
Quinn with that, so that you know exactly how much each person's actually getting.
Right.
Right,
Right.
and that's how it was, when we have the detailed lines, we have their salary plus their stipends,
Okay.
and Lieutenant Peaches had it all in one line.
I remember him
Okay.
being
Yeah,
on
of
one line.
line.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
didn't
all in
remember
one
what
line.
the
that,
officer
yeah.
was, but I remember that there
Yeah.
was one officer, yeah.
Yeah.
And we had questioned why he was different and not having.
So Lieutenant Peach is the lieutenant here?
Yeah.
Okay,
And it's only one lieutenant's salary.
okay. So then the police department has the salary of the wages and operating staff, all, okay. Operating staff, is that administrative? That's administrative, right? That's not officers on the
No,
street.
that's the officers. The support
Oh.
staff on 259 is, the office,
And the admin.
the
okay.
admin, yeah.
And the 904 is the officers on the cars or whatever they do. Yeah. Okay. Two police officers. So training and overtime,
Mary Jane, did you just say something about the cars? The cruisers?
no, I didn't get to that yet, but I was saying the officers in the cruisers.
Gotcha.
I didn't get there. But if you wanna jump ahead, that's fine with me.
No, there was just, in one document, it said a figure of 90 something for the cruisers.
Yes, for 4 of them.
Yeah,
Where
and
is
then another one, 102, alright, as long as
Yeah.
you saw it.
Okay,
Oh, before
so
cruisers,
that's,
that's down on 284,
okay,
if you're
we
looking for the
we jumped in,
cruisers.
jump into cruisers,
Okay, we can jump to cruisers.
new
Is that
equipment.
what you had a question?
I don't wanna be involved in any conversations that involve motor vehicles.
Maybe if that's a bill we have to pay for the leases.
That's,
I think so.
right, so it started with, there was 95,000,
What
and
was it, 284?
It was 284 was
284.
the cruises, the leases.
New equipment, yeah, listed as new equipment.
102, 520. Went from 47,
What-
oh, okay, so,
Okay, so it's a long story, so we'll try to make it short. Up through FY '25, they had, or in FY '25, they had budgeted 95,000, so you'll see that in column E. So at the May meeting, we budgeted and voted 95,000 for the chief to sign a new lease. When we got to the special town meeting in August, the chief said, I can delay my leases for 6 months.
I remember this, okay.
And when he delayed it, we put half of the month, thinking it was a 6 month and it should have been 7, but that's why it went to 47.5. So that he would be able to sign a half a year lease. Because he delayed the lease, the
Mhm.
price went up from 95 to 102, 520. So that's why.
Oh, for the deferred interest, okay, I get it.
Because he deferred
Yeah.
changes in
I get
prices.
it,
Yeah.
And so when he went out to get the new lease, it jumped from the 95 to the 102, so that delay was an additional 7,520.
Now, are
But-
these cars that we have now that are on the road?
I believe, yes,
Okay.
we have them now, because he went out and got them in the December time.
So we're not gonna be buying any more new police cruisers, right?
No, not for a bit, these leases will run out, and we'll do a new lease when he's ready for the next set of 4 cruisers.
How many cruisers do we have total? Just the 4?
It's a secret, no.
Yeah.
I don't, we don't wanna give away how, what people know. I don't know, I think it's gotta be, I would think.
More than
It's gotta be more than.
It's more than 4.
It's
It's
more
more
than
than
4.
4.
Kim, do you have any clue?
I don't know how many he has now.
I just, so the lease terms are staggered, so he doesn't have, so they're not all
They're
dropping
not all
off at
dropping
once.
at the same time, yeah, cause they've got to keep enough new equipment and the equipment on the road. I know discussions have been electric, but, that's.
Electric cars?
Electric,
Cruises, oh,
Cruises.
please don't do that.
Why not?
Yeah, they are.
yeah, they more and more are going toward it.
They're
so-
going to
Yeah,
hybrid.
The town is
Police,
not so big.
statewide, this is a
Well, I guess.
statewide, nationwide thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Tesla.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, well, whatever, doesn't have to be Tesla, but they're probably the best.
They won't be Tesla.
Let's
Good.
hope.
What
We don't
would they
know.
be?
Yeah.
Ford
So-
never went anywhere except into a stone wall.
Yeah, I'm sure companies are working, just like they do for getting equipment approved for
All I
police use anyway.
know is my next door neighbors, it takes 12 hours to
The charges.
charge
Can
his
you
little
imagine?
car. And it's not a fully electric car either, it's a hybrid.
It's a hybrid, yeah.
And it takes 12 hours.
I was
to
gonna say
charge.
that the technologies are changing, it's kinda like they're,
Yeah,
doing
horse
quicker-
to car,
quicker-
car to.
yeah, yeah.
Can we jump to 397?
Mhm.
397,
I did my homework.
building inspector professional services.
It went from 4,000 to,
Okay. It went from 4,000, if we actually look, it went to 16 on the, Saturday on the budget summit, and it's been gone from 16 down to 12.
okay, so that's not helping.
Okay, well,
I wanna know how, why it
but
went
again,
up.
this is the whole picture. What was it? When they originally gave us their budgets in January, and
Oh.
we reviewed them in February, it was 16,000.
Oh, so they came down 4.
They came down 4 that you see here, but again, this is all about the software licenses that, or the software, the fees we're paying for the building inspector permits. So they dropped this by 4, but our revenue had to drop by the corresponding 4,000, because this is all based, this is a net zero. on this line, and again,
On 397?
on 397.
Was that the permanently?
Yeah, that was the permanently.
Yeah, permanently, yeah.
Right, so that's the one where every dollar that comes in basically goes out. So-
Not every, it's kinda
Or-
like, for every permit that comes in, $10 is put in a kitty that has to be paid to Permalink.
Right,
So if we're saying Permalink is getting $12,000, well, that's 12,000, and it had been 16, well, we said we're gonna get that amount in building permit revenue that we have to pay out. So if you're decreasing it to 12, we also have to decrease
the revenue,
the revenue by that corresponding amount.
right.
It's kinda like, yeah,
I
it's
totally
kinda,
don't get that.
so,
I mean, I just don't get that, so they're bringing the money in,
they're bringing the money in, and it goes into the general fund,
okay,
and that money goes in, and then, based on the number of permits that we issue,
okay,
Permalink sends us a bill or an invoice
for X.
for
So
X.
we increased our amount of building permits by whatever they.
It was relatively new, this was a new service that came online. So the
Okay,
professional services had been 4170, we've now gone totally live with Permalink
okay,
permanently.
alright, I see,
And those are the pieces, so
okay.
this reduced by 4,000 when you look at the budget that we saw on March 1st. But again, that's 4,000 less to offset on revenue.
Right.
So we have to make sure when we look at their recap sheet, that line is, the line indicating that revenue is gonna be 4,000 less.
Okay, so this is a weird question, but.
Yep.
How does that work with new growth? Because didn't you tell us that the new growth was based on building permits?
It's not just the permits, it's the actual finishing of the project and
Okay.
getting reassessed
Okay, so.
by the assessor.
Alright, so decreasing it is arbitrary.
Yes, it's arbitrary.
Because this is strictly permit revenue versus
Okay,
permit
this is a wish
payments.
list, okay,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
begin to see that.
So,
Okay, so what else? Oh, I think I'm at the end of my rope. Oh, I guess I was a little curious about the $30,000 police training, but I suppose they need that, just,
They do,
yeah.
yeah, they're,
Yeah.
We'll give them that.
Oh, there's a story there.
There,
Oops.
Okay. No,
I
I'm
was
very
gonna
much
say
in
somebody in the
favor,
business.
very, very much in favor of police training.
Okay.
I
I'm
did
not
have
in
the-
favor of this particular line.
I did have the opportunity to speak with the chief and let him know that through the international chiefs, there is, opportunity that I hope that he'll be able to avail himself of, between now and town meeting. He is a member, he does go to the conference, he did go online when we were chatting. It's free, and it's automatic, it's not competitive. So if he needs the escalation training, use of force training, if he needs a policy written, there's, exchanges you can do, peer exchange, and all he has to do is ask. They'll write it up for him, they can do it. So it was done before he became chief here. They did, crisis intervention training, regional base, it was done with Townsend and Pepperell, for the 40 hours training, it came for free. And so whatever he needs, he can ask for. Once he does that one program, he can ask for the next one. That's through a CRITAC program, there's one called Elevate Blue that he can do. There's 3 online now, they're already post-certified, so he can do that one. There's one through Bureau of Justice, Training and Technical Assistance Center that he can request training for as well. So hopefully he will be able to get into that cycle. I mean, it's all free, it is all automatic, and there's also a scholarship program, that he can apply for, to decrease for training and conferences.
And he's agreed to
I mean,
look it out.
We were on the phone, he immediately went and looked,
Okay.
so hopefully he will be able to
And
do
this
that.
$30,000 was added onto the police department budget over and above what Chief Sartell wanted. The Board of Selectmen told at a budget forum about 3 or 4 years ago that they wanted to add $30,000 to his budget, just because it's hard to take money away once you give it, it's harder to take it away, so they wanted to add it on, just so that he would have the extra $30,000 for training. But he did not want it, but he took it because
of
they were
course.
forcing him to take it.
Who
And
wouldn't?
that's all on video from the budget summit from about 2022.
That's interesting.
I don't begrudge him for that, but he was very receptive to trying to look at alternatives.
Oh, I'm sure he's
That's
not
good to
gonna
know.
turn
Yeah,
down money,
yeah.
but,
No, that's
which he
good to
said
know.
at that meeting, but he was not asking for it, and it was actually forced on him despite the fact that we were having budget crisis back then.
I'm sure we were, cause these don't happen overnight.
And that has been, it's interesting to me that 30,000 has maintained as a separate line item. Not just in basic, in training budget, it's a separate
Separate
$30,000.
training. Well, that's what.
And I mean, to me, it tells me that he's keeping that separate so that, it's not money that he wanted.
That was my question, because 283 and 261 were 30 for training, 2 times, and I thought maybe it was a mistake.
No.
But you're saying no.
That was the money that was shoved down his throat by Veronica Kell in 2022.
Oh, there you go, okay. No cuts.
We got
So-
that then?
Do we have the history of, did he actually use any of that? Or,
Maybe,
cause if he doesn't use it, it goes into free cash the next year once it's
It does,
certified, right?
Yeah, so let me,
You know,
again, I haven't had a recent one, but we can at least see what December said.
why do uniforms cost $19,000?
We're not talking about
Yeah.
uniforms.
All that fancy,
Oh, for the police? Oh, yeah, they wear those bulletproof vests.
they look like little mutant ninja turtles walking
Yeah,
around.
they wear the big hats.
I thought they were.
All the fancy vests and stuff.
I have no problem with police,
How many-
highway, and fire, but the
But
rest.
it's expensive.
Yeah, but you need a new one every year?
They expire.
Maybe.
They do expire.
What?
They expire.
Expire.
The ballistics.
Yeah,
The
bullets
ballistics.
get, worn out too.
So, as of
Okay,
December, that $30,000 line was overdrawn by 2,000.
We used it. Are you sure it's that line?
Well, it's the 30,000.
Cause there's another 30,000.
What's the other? Okay, so this one is 5125, the long budget number.
Oh, no, okay, so for 24, they used both, they basically used both lines.
Okay.
283.
Right.
280. So, I mean, I found the number, because in the BVA for 24, you don't have the
We
spreadsheet.
don't have the spreadsheet number.
We don't have spreadsheet lines, we just have the BVA.
Yeah.
So for both, so I looked at both things, and the one they actually spent more than, one they spent 99% of it.
Okay, and what's the other one? I got 5125?
5780 is the other one.
Okay. Yeah, other
Okay.
charges, training, yep.
Yeah.
So he's using
And
it,
that will, yep,
using it.
right, and again, there were new hires, and so there was.
Yeah, but they can't use that for new hires, can they? The
No,
training
no,
money?
they new hires get trained.
They,
Oh,
Yeah.
duh.
Yeah, then they spent money at the police academy or
police
something,
academy,
yeah,
yeah.
remember that, public
But
safety.
that's good that they now know that there's another option.
right, exactly.
That's good news. See, this is why we should be collaborating all year long with
other
citizens who
people.
know and with the
Right,
department heads. I mean,
right.
this 11th hour thing is huge.
I'll tell you one thing, this is the first piece of paper I've seen since we started this last fall.
Well, I
I
bet
got
you it's
this
gonna
book here
change
that's
by Friday.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but
Oh, you mean.
because it's, all you gotta do is burn this and reprint a new copy, and
Right.
we make the changes,
Hey,
it
Dawn,
flows, it's
There's,
functional.
on the
This thing in
Zoom,
here
there's a
has
Sean
letters and
Gallant, who
lines
has
so
his
small, I
hand
can't
up,
read
I
them
don't
with
know
my
who that
glasses.
is. I don't know if you're taking questions from the Zoom audience, but Sean Gallant
Thank you.
has got his hand raised.
I don't know that name.
Sean, did you wish to be heard? Sean go on? We're showing your hand raised. Are you looking to speak?
Can you hear us?
He's muted. Oh,
Oh, sorry, I was trying to figure out how to unmute.
I know, it's not easy.
It's my first time even on one of these meetings, so I'm trying to kind of get used to the lay of the land on it, so I apologize.
No worries.
On that, you were saying that there was $30,000 that, was kind of listed twice, if you will.
It's not,
One of the comments brought up on it was that, the possibility of that, at one point in time, it was kind of forced on them. Is it possible that while, yes, it's being spent, that has anybody spoken with them to find out, is it one of those, we're spending it in a use it or lose it reasoning versus needing to spend it?
good question. We did,
Question,
when
yeah.
the chief was in, we did a lot of meetings with all department heads in February. And the police chief let us know that, there were new officers hired, and he did use the money this year, and he was gonna overspend it, but because he had extra money in his, line for the police officers, we would be able to transfer and take it out, but this year may be extraordinary, and somebody in the room is also, in that business, I guess, if you call it, and, has recommended that there are a potential for some free training, or no-cost training that may help him, in the future, not need those $30,000.
Okay.
Hope that, is that clear?
That was good for me, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for your question.
thanks, and thanks for picking up on that. It's kind of like, when I'm sharing, I don't see that.
I've got the Zoom on my iPad here, so I can see.
Okay, so we had done the questions, and Mary Jane, you're all set with,
Yeah, actually, that's the end of my questions, I believe.
okay, for now, yeah.
For now, yeah.
There's a lot of information in the,
I just had a question.
yeah.
On line 570, which is the curbside pickup and trash.
Oh, Dave.
Where page number, line number, please?
570.
570.
Towards the back.
Yeah, it's towards the
Solid
end.
waste curbside pickup and.
Yeah.
See, it's the note there says FY '26 pending 480K revenue, that costs 300K. So I'm assuming they're basing their revenue, the 480K, on the purple bags and selling $40,000 a month of purple bags, which I know they're not selling you $40,000 a month of purple bags.
Yes, they are.
That they are? I have some figures that are less than that.
Oh, did you have it? Oh, really? Okay.
Where'd you get your figures?
Yeah.
Just then.
From the accountant.
Oh, from Katie.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's, if the revenues, actually, here's my phone. I mean, it's possible, depending on, I'd like to see the February numbers. If the February numbers are up, then okay, then I'll go with that.
What was the number?
Do you know that Ashby is charging $7 for their bags?
Are they?
Yep, I went online.
Good, I've already proposed $7.50 per bag.
$7.50?
Yeah.
If I could find it.
Dave, what did you want?
5.
Five?
I thought 5 would work.
I think we should raise the price on them,
Mm.
so that we don't need to get
Yeah.
trash into an override situation. We should
Yeah.
charge, and I think the townspeople would go along with that, because I don't think, if somebody does the math, to take that extra couple $100,000 and apply it to figure out how many purple bags do we need to, you know, how much can we add on to that, so that it's one type of funding, not 3.
Right.
That the purple bags, if they need to cost, I don't think,
It
7 might be
can-
too high, cause that would double, and I don't think we need to double.
It
But
takes.
6, I mean, if we need to charge 6, I think the townspeople, of course, some people will complain.
Yeah.
but not everybody. The people that like the purple bags, that are still within a reasonable number of them, would embrace it rather than losing trash.
Yeah,
In
and
our-
when we have to go out and get our own trash,
Mm.
it could probably cost me twice as much.
Yeah,
So,
To have them, and can I go out and say, I only wanna see you twice, twice a month? Is that a possible contractual thing? No, you gotta come by weekly, thanks a lot.
yeah. But I think the
there's so many
townspeople would
troubles.
accept a higher bag
And,
fee.
no,
For both bags?
I know that
Yeah, both bags would have
it's
that.
not hard to keep within a reasonable 50% or so of what you have to do if you have to get your own private collector. So yes, it's a pain, it's costly, I don't wanna see it doubled, but personally, it's doubling the cost of the bag still is a lot cheaper for me as a farm owner, homeowner,
Yeah,
small business, whatever you
I
wanna call me.
think,
Right.
so it's
Oh,
$3.75 per bag now,
Right.
right?
350.
350.
Oh, 350.
350
Okay.
and 225.
Yeah.
For the small.
So I would say, I mean,
Mhm.
all right, I would like to make a motion.
Dave, yes.
Okay.
Great, okay, Carol,
Dave,
come
before
on.
you do that, can I,
Right,
for the
what's
record,
your
just so,
motion?
just so
Yep.
the townspeople know that you, based on facts, so,
Did you
the
do it?
initial impact for trash, 600,000 a year, if it had stayed just on the levy, would have been, 15 million, but because of the override and the impact of the compounding, it's over 21 million. So, we've been trying to ask people, like, what's the difference? Could we save money, could we get it out of the levy by doing an increase or a fee or something? And that's why coming to Fincom to ask you guys, just letting the voters know that, yes, it might be a little more of an increase here, but that getting it out of the compounding is so much more of a value from them, and as you pointed out, Mr. Grant, to not pay private, like, we need to get those numbers, so I'm so excited that you guys are gonna make that motion. So
Well,
I just wanted the taxpayers to know what the numbers were, so they
Right,
could hear
I mean,
that
I think,
record.
I would like to make the motion that we recommend raising the bag costs to $5 for the large bags and $4 for the small bags per bag.
I'd like to see some numbers to back that up and how much it's gonna
yeah, I
cover
think doing the formula would, because you don't wanna undercut yourself, $5 might not be enough.
Yeah.
Well,
it
I'm not
depends on what
necessarily
you're-
looking to cover it all, I'm looking to
Well, you know,
increase.
you can cover it all, if you do and have a little bit of a little bit of a buffer.
Well,
You don't
then-
wanna undercut it, cause then we are short on the budget.
We're not trying to cover the town's.
We're not, well, no, I'm looking.
No, and that
This is
isn't
a
that
way,
much.
this is a, but if we do this again, it would be a way to reduce the override amount.
Yes,
And so, I'm not necessarily looking to eliminate the override amount,
Mhm.
but
You-
this would be a way to.
well, yeah, you do, cause the town may vote no on the override altogether.
Well, then,
So get trash out
I
of
would
the,
get trash
get
out
trash
of the
completely out of the override conversation.
I wanna stick with 5 and 4, I don't wanna jump too far now at first.
Four might be a bit much on the
Take a
small
number
bags.
and add another,
Let's see.
Well, it's,
dollar.
5 and 4.
It could be 550 might be a better number, I mean, cause we're at 350, doubling it, it doesn't sound like we're only halfway paying.
I don't know about anybody
It's
else.
a formula, I mean, you can
It-
do the
it is.
formula,
Yeah, well-
I didn't have time to do it today, or I would've done it.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know about anybody else, but not all of us, but some of us have been increasing normally in our incomes. We've had inflation go up, individually 20% or so over the last 5 years. That's I'm going by the price of grain and hay personally, because that's where I do have an eye on what's happening. And it is going up 20% plus. And the town is a part of who we are, our property. Not only do they own it, they, through the taxes, but our property is part of this town. And our property taxes the town is constantly restricted, and the schools, whatever, are constantly restricted to a 2.5% increase regardless of what happens to inflation. And, so we need to definitely keep that into consideration if we want good roads, or decent roads. I don't even sheriffs are really good, but when the potholes get bad enough, you know, we can't, you know, strangle Jim and say, why haven't you fixed this thing, because he can't fix it. I don't have the funds for it. That's, you know, one thing. The trash is a problem, it's been a problem, but we, working together as a community, will do a much better job than trying to have to do it individually.
So,
Okay.
the current price for the large bag, you said is $3.50?
Is $3.50 per bag.
Okay, cause I thought it was $3.75.
No, it's gonna, so
$17.50 a roll.
Five
So-
bags, five
Okay.
bags.
And what is it for the small bags?
$2.25 a piece.
$2.25.
Yeah, so I have thrown up,
Are you gonna do the math right now in front of us?
Well,
What do you
I'm gonna
mean?
do a little bit of it.
so,
Okay, good.
so
Yeah,
at 3.5,
that's good.
at 40,000, basically it's 11,428 bags a month. So that's your 480
Well,
for
but,
the 12
but,
months. So if you go to 5, it increases the revenue to 57,000 a month for a total of 685.
right, we don't have necessarily the ratio of small bags to large
I
bags.
don't have that, we only have one
We
variable
only have the
here.
one number, right.
We only have
Do
one
the
number, so
mean
we can't.
average.
Right, and so, and so,
But if we do 6 and 3, and
Yeah.
those are the numbers, it's kinda like, that would equate,
That-
using the 40,000,
That would cover it.
do $6 per bag,
well,
and revenue is
from
822,000.
350 to 5 is a 42% increase in the
Yeah.
cost of
It
the
is.
bag.
Yep.
So you so you got the 57 by doing that, right?
I did,
Okay.
but now just doing the bags, and the fact that, the small bags are half the size of the big bags, just do that to 3, but yeah, so it's kinda like, so if we did $6 a bag, you're getting roughly 68,000 a month, and it's gonna be 822 for the year.
Really?
Yeah,
A variable, but.
okay.
No, I
there's-
get it. No,
there's-
yeah.
There's gonna be variance, this is
No, I understand.
based strictly on
So
a
you-
revenue number divided by 350 a bag.
Right.
It's kinda
Right.
like,
Right, cause we know nothing, we
Yes.
just have to. Yeah,
we
no,
know
I know.
about 40,000,
No, quite.
we could reduce that number, and you said it's what, 37,000?
For what?
What, you thought it was a little lower than the 40,000 a month?
Okay, so for the month of October, they only have 3 months, but the month of October, it was $25,909. So the month of December, October was $25,909. Then it went to November, spiked to $53,208. And then for December, it went down to $29,516. And they don't have any
Okay,
more
So you don't
numbers.
have January and February.
No.
And are those the amount of bags sold, or is that the amount of
Yeah.
revenue?
No, that's the
That's the amount of
One,
revenue.
yeah.
Well, remember,
So-
in December, they started with the little bags.
Right,
So
but
that
No, the
time-
big bags.
it's kinda like,
Was
it doesn't matter because we don't know the ratio of big bags
Big
to
bags, the little bags.
We only know what.
We only had big bags when they started,
Yeah.
the little bags didn't come in until January.
Oh, January, I thought it was
Yep.
December first,
Okay.
okay.
So,
Right, so, well, there you go, there's $800,000 right there.
Right.
Make
So-
donations.
roughly, it's
So,
going to
okay.
$6 a bag for the big bags and $3 a bag for.
6 and 3?
Well, I would say, no, I would
No,
say,
okay.
Okay.
I would still like to go to 4 on the small bags.
Yeah. 6 and 4.
So let's say 6 and 4.
6 and 4?
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
Okay, so that's your motion?
So my motion is to increase the bag fee from to $6 for a large bag and $4 for a small bag. Starting
Yeah, when?
in
FY
for FY '26, so we
July.
don't,
I want.
So you're gonna drive up the bag purchase at the end of this year.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine,
That's
that's
okay.
fine. I'll-
That's all, it's
That's okay.
kinda like.
Yeah, no, I agree, you're right, it'll drive up the bag purchase at the end of the year, which should just go into free cash next year and we'll be able to use it by
Dave
the end
loves
of
free
it.
cash, that's his thing. Dave's a free
Free cash is nothing more than buying a CD and 12 months.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying,
Yeah,
Okay.
all right,
Like
all right.
that is my,
Okay, is
that is my
that
motion.
the final answer, 6 and?
I
6
second,
and 4.
I
6 and
second,
4.
Yep.
6 and 4, I second the motion.
Okay, final answer. Okay.
Do we have it, do we need further discussion, or?
Can I just ask for clarity, does that take it all out of the tax levy, or does some of
No.
it, Dawn, how does that work?
$6, it won't take it out of the tax, this is, the revenue that we'll be getting is estimated about let's round down, $800,000, because the whole driver for pay-as-you-throw is have less trash.
Trash, right,
It's kinda like, so it's, you know, are we right now, I don't think we're chasing, falling off, something that's falling off a cliff. But that would be say 800,000, and so that would cover the 780, and you don't wanna go too much higher.
Right.
Right.
Than what your contract is, but it
So
gives
that
us-
would take it off the tax levy?
Well,
Effectively, it's not, I mean, it's
it's a
still.
wash, because this is revenue coming in the general fund, and we're gonna pay it, the town can't pay a bill unless it's in the
Right.
budget.
But we are not going to put it in the override. Well,
Well, this should increase the town revenue, which should reduce the required amount for the override.
Yeah.
right,
Right.
cause
Okay.
right now it's in the override, which means it would compound
Right,
each year.
Right.
right,
So
so,
if you all figure this out and make your recommendation
Yeah.
at town meeting, which is after the vote, which I'll
Right.
state again, people did not want, so hopefully people don't vote for it, and we can fix this at town meeting, and then all of you wizards fixed it, got it off of the override, but it will still be revenue for the town to pay the contract. But it won't multiply next year, right? Is that what I'm hearing now?
well,
Is that-
it would
Well, I
reduce,
don't know,
it would reduce the overall amount of the override, it probably doesn't
It doesn't eliminate it, but
It
if you
doesn't-
take the 300,
Right,
it's here.
it takes,
But
you
you can
take the
eliminate
plus or
the
minus
portion of the
120.
override that is trash.
right,
I'd
effectively.
recommend that.
Effectively, yes, but I don't think the override cuts it down that
but
fine,
it
I
brings
think,
it, if you
No,
get
the
rid of the
override-
120 that we talked about, plus or minus, if you take up this 300, plus or minus, you're somewhere around 220,
right. Right, it should reduce the amount of the override proportionally.
right?
I
Which
mean-
is
The
what the
selectmen are
citizens
separating
were
it as they actually functionally do the budget, that if there's a plan that the selectmen will buy into, and you guys
Mhm.
buy into, and the townspeople buy into, to say that this trash is not gonna go anywhere, because we're raising the price of the purple bags, so it's not, then this should not, whatever happens with the override is not going to, we didn't get an override, so we're getting rid of trash. That we're taking it off
It should alleviate
the
the need for that.
conversation, so that the selectmen can't say, we're not doing trash because the override didn't pass, even though we rose the price of the purple bags. If we raise the price of the purple bags, everybody, the townspeople, the selectmen, and everybody should be able to see that trash is not impacted by an override passing or not.
Right,
That other areas of the town, cause you can't use trash fees to fund up, to provide revenue for other departments, that's
Right.
illegal.
Correct.
right,
Okay,
and that's the
so
thing, right now
If we
it's going
cut,
general
if we
fund.
make it,
Right.
if we break it even with the price of purple bags does pay fully for the cost of that trash contract for residential trash, then there should not be any conversation about there's no trash if we don't pass an override.
Well, that-
And-
Correct.
if
And again, I mean, this is a
everybody
big
learns
assumption
that it
that
costs me
nobody else
this
is
much,
There's enough
then I might
if
think
enough of us
about
can speak out.
compacting my trash before I put it out on the curb in the first place.
Right.
And there's a possibility that once we've covered all our trash contract, that, we might even be able to reduce the cost of the bags in the future, even though inflation's going up,
Absolutely.
use
Right.
is going down.
Absolutely.
So this
So-
really begs the question of, you all have been wonderful of allowing me and others to come talk and have a conversation, where we can't in some venues talk and have a conversation, but the goal is to put forth the most palatable budget for the community members, which doing an override without these discussions and really having that with the community, which we can do at town meeting and no other venue, I think having a really good plan, you're always great with numbers and worked with you before, right? You whiz them out, you guys can do that, and really explaining it, so we're not taking away a service, we're actually doing a benefit, we're not putting it in the override so that you're not paying this year and compounding it, cause we can show that trash, that computation of how much the original trash cost people and how much it's escalated on our tax bill. If we charge it as the bags, it's still going to the same reason, right, the same service, but it's outside the tax levy. If we can drive that number down and not affect our long-term employees or services, you know, like if I can, you know, had a great conversation, like I said, with the police chief, if he can go and even get one training that saves him $5,000, $5,000, right? It's that cooperative spirit, and he was fantastic to talk to, and he went, like I said, right on. If that saves a little bit, and this saves a little bit, and we can get that number down by May 6th to the best that it can be, and not everything is gonna work, like I'm not Pollyanna, and neither is everybody else that's trying, but it's like, let's try everything. And you guys just had a great conversation in a way that could get that number down to something reasonable that I think people will say, you all did great work to really look at that in a sensitive way to our employees and to our taxpayers. Like, I think it's reasonable. I don't know how you get that ballot to go away.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
the
it's kinda,
the reason the
public
ballot is
doesn't
before the
anyway,
town
so.
meeting is because it's the same vote where we're electing a new selectman. That
But
has to
we've
be
had
before the town meeting.
no, it doesn't. We have had our override votes in June before.
Well, that's because the override
That's
was
another
prior to
$6,000
that.
out of the budget.
Okay, there's
It
lots of
does,
things,
but-
there's lots of things with timing of overrides and votes and all of that. It's kinda like, and you have to have two, you have to have a ballot, you have to have the special town
The
meeting.
vote.
The vote, it's kinda like of a quorum of the town.
And in our straw poll shows statistically that it's not going to pass, putting it before the town meeting and all of that, unfortunately.
And, yeah, and again,
Is it not possible to have a large amount, comparatively speaking, pass on the ballot without taking it all?
No, it has to be the same. You can't change it.
right, yeah, the ballot
It's not
is
like
printed with
yeah.
with
I
the amount,
understand, I
and you
just
have
have
to
to save
vote.
$6,000 another trip into town.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like the warrant where you can put it on the warrant and then adjust it at town meeting. Once it's on the ballot, that's it.
And whatever number they came up with yesterday is definitely going on the ballot.
Correct.
So then
Yep.
we.
Actually,
so
they
that-
can, I understand they
no.
can change it till tomorrow.
So we can recommend no, and, I mean, if we took a vote and we recommended no as a board, we would put that out at the meeting, correct?
I don't know if that is something, we've never taken
could.
a position on something that's on a ballot. It kinda, recommendations at town meeting and warrants is
Yeah.
one thing, telling people how to vote.
Not telling.
And you're not, it's
No,
the
you're just
recommending.
It's the budget.
You
But
can,
again,
you can
you're-
recommend anything, anytime you want, as a FinCom, you're representing the people, not
We-
anybody else.
Because it's the budget
We-
done.
It's
You're
the budget.
recommending right now that the budget is funded through a trash bag fee and not a tax levy. The ballot is recommending that the trash be paid for
The 300,000
through
of the
a levy.
trash.
Yeah,
Right.
so
We have to think
So you're not
about
telling
this.
people how to
Yeah.
vote,
We have
you're
to think about
describing
I
this.
gotta
how
go
it
watch
is.
the video to see what
We're
they.
watching it, yeah, but
yeah.
we did,
Mhm.
the language, I guess, is very important, cause you don't wanna get in trouble legally, but,
Right, so you're not, yeah.
but I do think the taxpayers, I really believe, and just for point of clarification, everybody at this table is a numbers person, I'm totally not. I'm looking at it as the taxpayer, what are you doing with this money? And I think that that's why we can have conversations, because we're coming from it, from a number and a human side, instead of at
So,
each other's
and-
throats.
And that's, again, why I'm open to residents coming in, calling, asking
I think
questions.
it's imperative.
We are the board that get to see all the details. If they have questions that we are likely to have answers for, it's there. This is, this is representative of the town. It's not a board, and that's why it's open for
We're
people
still
to
discussing the motion,
ask
so we still have to
questions.
vote on the motion then.
Yeah, we have to go.
Yeah,
Dave's
it's kinda
motion.
like, sorry,
Yeah.
we.
No,
we've had
that's okay.
Lots of
Yeah.
discussion, trash, is always gonna do that. It's kinda like-
Absolutely, that's
and
okay. That's
I
okay. I'm
will
just,
throw out,
I saw her start putting papers away, I wanted to make sure we didn't lose that.
No, we have more,
Oh.
I have more to discuss too.
Yeah.
I just got a
Yeah.
second
I'm
win.
just,
I
I'm
got a
just
second
sorting
win.
paper.
I
Oh
think-
yeah, we're gonna vote?
if we
Are
are,
we ready?
if there is no more discussion on trash, we have a motion on the floor to recommend $6 for the large bag and $4 for the small bag.
Carol Hofstas, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Dave Walker, yes.
Mary Jane Churchville, yes.
Ron Hayes, yes.
Passed.
And again, it's kinda like, it's our recommendation, the numbers are just strictly where they are, there's no
So,
thought of drop off, how many people
Yeah.
may go private with this. It's kinda like, the numbers are only as good as the assumptions, and there's really not many here. We'd have to, look at, do we wanna look at a 10% drop
well,
off?
so with the numbers that we did,
Yeah.
that's basically a 71% increase in the bag costs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I took the three numbers that you gave us, that came out to basically summing it divided by 3, that's 36,000 a
Right.
month.
Yeah.
Adding 71% to that comes out to 61,000 a month. So that's basically, if we do charge the numbers that we're saying, we should be getting
Mhm.
roughly $60,000 a month in bag revenue.
Times 12.
Plus or minus.
60,000, or, yeah, I just.
I mean, it's gonna be a plus or minus
Yeah.
because.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, that's.
One 5 bag
I'm reducing
is
it
2
to
months worth of bags to me.
Plus, if you do have a drop off, if a lot of
If
people
another-
start to bail, and you
Then-
run into this number, it goes off, now, this bag fee is a flexible amount, it doesn't require a vote at town meeting. This is
Right.
can be
But-
done
Well,
within the town, so if you find ourselves in September, October, you go, uh-oh,
No, but
too many
it-
people have gone off,
this-
the revenues have dropped, and
Yeah.
you can measure it.
Mm.
Not, like, right now, we haven't had this program long enough
Yeah,
to be
no.
really clear,
Yeah.
but if we find ourselves, October is a year in on this program, and if we see that the numbers have dropped off, and Shaw's is telling us, yeah, we've got 20% more contracts, okay, then in order to maintain the purple bags, if you need to raise the price again, that you do have that opportunity.
Right, well.
And I don't think we're gonna have a 20% drop off, so, but I mean, we
Yeah,
could
but-
have some drop off,
There'll
but
probably be some, but at
you
the
can
end.
raise it again if
Well,
you
but
have
the
to,
other
it's
thing too
okay.
is if, I think this would also cover us going with the Shaw's contract where we pay the base number plus the tonnage
Right.
fees.
But,
Because then if the numbers do drop, like you said, our tonnage fees will also drop, so
Well, the selectmen
it
don't
should
wanna do
balance
that
out.
contract, they
No,
wanna do
it's
the
kinda
flat
like-
fee.
I understand that.
and this is what we have to watch, if our trash.
And you can
goes-
recommend the other,
Right, if the trash goes down, there's gonna be less purple bags being purchased, but our recycling is still being picked up. It's kinda like, and the tonnage with that is still gonna.
Right, but the trash tonnage should be going down, so that trash tonnage fee should also drop.
But it's the curbside collection, the base fee is still the highest number.
Right, but that base fee in that variable contract was like 300,000 or so.
Well, the base fee is fixed, right?
The base fee is fixed, yeah.
It's the
it's kinda-
tonnage, or the tipping fee,
The
that's.
tipping fees, that's what I'm
Right.
talking about. This number would also cover the variable tipping fees. And if the revenue drops because the number of bags drops, the tipping fee should also drop,
Right.
so it should balance out,
Typically,
is what I'm saying. So actually, I wanna make a second motion
Oh, boy.
that
On
we
a roll.
recommend,
On a roll.
that we, for the trash contract, we recommend that we use the trash contract that included the variable tipping, the tipping fees
Right.
separated out.
Contract separated out?
Yes,
Okay,
because we were presented with two possible
Mm-hmm.
right, and
trash contracts.
Yeah.
One was a fixed rate of $780,000,
no cost in your budget.
and one was a base cost, I think it was like around 300, and then tipping, a tipping fee per tonnage.
Right.
Okay, so it's recommended using the trash contract with the variable tipping fee?
With the tipping fee, yeah, I don't know if variable tipping fee is the right phrasing, if it should just be with the tipping fees separated out.
Right.
Tipping fee separated.
Yeah, I think that's a better wording.
Oh, okay.
Because the tipping fee itself is not variable.
Right.
right, that tipping fee was a.
Well, it's a variable in an upward direction.
Well,
as
the
time
up,
goes on.
Yeah.
the final number is variable, but the fee.
But you want the contract with the separate tipping fee.
Right.
Right, right.
A separate
That's the
item.
problem we had with the 5-year contract, is he could only tell you the tipping fee out a certain number, 3 years, and the collector, out the other end, wasn't gonna let you know what's gonna be that, you know, the
Yeah.
4 year, 4
There
year,
was
4 year,
when
5.
they offered a 5-year contract, the tipping fees were only listed for the first 3.
Right,
And that's.
but nobody could tell you ahead of time what they're gonna raise
Yeah.
it to.
Well, this one's a 1 year, so it's not a.
Yeah. So-
No.
Oh, is this a 3 year?
I think it's a,
I think it's a 3.
This is a 3 year, so we have the tipping fees for the 3 years, so
Right.
yeah, that's,
we did, it's gonna,
I-
and the recycling tipping fees are going up higher than the trash tipping fees.
yeah,
Year over year.
I know, well, I think that's because most recycling winds up going into landfills anyway, it doesn't actually get recycled. It's
I know, I go and
The
wash all my cans and probably still
the
ends up
recycling
with-
is a waste of time.
It's
I
all a
agree.
moving target, the whole,
Yep, it
Well, if
may
you
come
don't
around.
recycle now and 90% goes in the trash, 100% goes to the trash, maybe eventually it'll get down to 75 and 50
Okay,
as
Okay.
people figure out how to make money out of it.
we're gonna vote on this?
Please.
Okay, so, are we, another motion on the floor, has anybody seconded?
Yes,
missed it.
Mary Jane did.
Okay, thank you,
Yep.
I missed it, there was a lot of conversation.
Okay, I got it.
Excuse me.
Are we ready to vote
Okay.
then?
Any further discussion on the
No.
contract? Okay, then being heard, a vote in the affirmative is to recommend that we go with the base rate with
Base rate.
fees, with the tipping fees.
Tipping
um,
fees.
Okay,
separate.
so
Rather
they-
than the all-in
So
contract.
using the base rate with tipping fees.
Yeah.
Tipping,
Separate.
okay. Separate tipping fee,
Mhm.
Right.
okay. Great. So you seconded, oh,
Yeah,
Karen
it
Hoff
was-
says yes?
Sam Grant, yes.
Dave Walker, yes.
Mary Jane Churchill, yes.
Don Hayes, yes.
Okay, so, the next thing, I wanna ask a question on 649.
649.
So explain this, please. 25 was 73,631, 26 was 88,483. And what's FY 26, 56,478, proposed cut?
Okay, I lost myself, what was the number again? I get up.
The
Six
cut-
forty-nine, mine's 649.
649.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
what are we cutting? A staff member? I thought we weren't doing that at this time.
I think, did Veronica say there was one staff, was it, I don't know.
what
They
department
need-
is that?
This is,
Council on
Council on Aging.
Yes, they, the community service person, and I think they're gonna also cut, somebody in the food service, because they're cutting a meal out, and I think there's another little chip away at the food service people. The wellness
Okay.
coordinator,
This-
Yeah.
So is
And
this the
then-
wellness coordinator that we
No.
talked about
yeah,
20 pages ago?
yeah.
But then it was the kitchen.
There's also a
person.
kitchen person, cause they're cutting some of the meal stuff out, so there is a person that is most
Okay.
likely already determined. They determined that in December because
Oh.
they lost some ARPA money.
Oh. Oh,
Okay.
okay, got it. Alright, so that was that, and then Council on Aging training. Oh, their equipment doubled. Did they buy something?
I think they bought us, did they buy a stove or something?
They bought a stove and sold the stove.
Oh, they bought us all, okay.
Yeah,
So
they
that's-
they bought a stove and it wasn't what they needed, so they sold that they were planning to sell that in surplus.
Okay, so they need another,
And so they needed
Something.
a stove that was
Okay,
gonna
I
fit their
understand.
purpose.
okay. And then what's supplies, supplies are good, okay, then we come to veterans. Ask Natalie, that's interesting. So it says veteran agent dues and training, and then it says ask Natalie in the notes.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know what they're asking her?
We don't, but
Okay.
what's in the line
Okay, wait, let's see,
Which
was
is
that?
then the library.
Let me see, was that in the notes when we talked to
So,
her? Which
I don't,
was it?
I don't think we got Natalie in the room.
we didn't,
Did we not have Natalie?
she wasn't in the room.
Oh, okay. Well, I think
So the library is cutting
oh, the library.
the
What's
quota.
the, you know, I'm concerned about them being cut, that they lose their certification.
me too.
We have to be very cautious of
And
that.
I'm very,
But I don't know how we can recommend that. I mean, how do we get that information?
let's
Well, they
see.
didn't change any of the library wages.
Right, so wages are all there,
But at the
so they're
library-
gonna be open the same hours.
Oh, you're, okay, all right.
See,
The selectmen did address that last night, or yesterday afternoon, and they're well aware on the certification issue, and they're not going to risk that.
Oh, good,
Right.
okay, good.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you,
Thank
yeah.
you.
We're gonna have to watch that meeting,
Yeah,
I
I
guess.
have to watch that. So, okay.
Now we
that's
come
good
to
know.
recreation. So, recreation support staff.
What number you on?
I'm on
Line
six-
700.
Yeah, 700.
Okay.
Recreation support staff, 7,000. I thought,
Okay, so
yeah, let's talk about
Yeah.
this.
it started as 17,477 last year, and it was initially 17,477 with 10,000 coming from the recreation revolving fund as it has for the past years. And so that's why you're seeing the 7,477. They're talking about changing the department, but they wanna keep the assistant, and that's why they've dropped it just to $1, just to keep the line open with a budget of $1.
So let me ask this,
Mhm.
since, you know, she's got the summer program and the before and after school program and all those programs that are self-paying, cannot her department head salary come out of those funds instead of coming out of the town budget?
We are going to get the revolving funds and look at them.
Oh, did you
April.
request them?
Yeah.
Good, because I think that that's a very valid question.
I don't know that there's enough money in the revolving account to pay a salary, the,
Well, the revolving,
department head
the
salary.
fees all go into the general fund,
No.
right? They don't? They
No,
don't?
the fees for recreation are one of the revolving funds.
Okay, they go into that fund
It goes
directly.
in directly to the revolving fund, and salaries for the counselors are paid from there, expenses are paid from there. So it's not anything, it's not anything you see in the budget and posted directly here. You have to get the revolving fund.
Okay, but we were
Deb-
told
Yeah.
that this was a self-funding department,
Except for the
except for the director's salary.
Correct.
Now we're getting the director's salary, and now we're adding the support staff salary.
No, that's coming
No?
out. No, the support staff was in there at $7,000. They weren't finding somebody to hire that position, so they're foregoing the position with the opportunity to.
Got it, so 10,000, whatever, will come from the revolving account.
Used to. They're dropping it to 1,000, so there's gonna be no assistant director hired.
They're terminating the position?
They're not terminating it, that's why it's $1.
It's vacated.
Oh,
It's
vacated.
And they
Okay.
haven't found anybody to take it for that money, so I
For
suspect.
$1?
No, for the 17,000,
Oh,
which is, you know,
That
combination
too.
of the 7,000 funded by the town, and 10,000 funded by the revolving.
bless you, God bless you.
Bless you.
All right, so
So they've just put $1 on the line
I get it.
to keep the accounting line open in the event that in the future we're able to hire an assistant director.
So the proposed cut is not $1. The
No,
proposed
that's a
cut is
cut
$7,476.
$7,476.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
So if there was enough money in the revolving funds, potentially to pay the department department head.
Correct.
Okay.
So increase fees, more,
Well, that's a very good question, because we met with the recreation department, because they had a special meeting because of the, threats and rumors from the Fincom. So we went to the meeting.
yeah.
And one of the interesting things was that she said that she joined a fitness, program, which was a national program, which
Mhm.
is supposedly good for people to use. However, she hasn't been able to put the equipment in the ground yet, because she needs $35,000.
Mhm.
So my question is, we didn't speak at the meeting, 'cause,
Okay, yeah.
but someone did ask the question, if she doesn't raise the $35,000
Mhm.
by December, because that's the deadline,
Okay.
who pays it?
Is it who pays it, or the
I mean,
equipment is just, doesn't get installed and we don't use it?
That's my question. I mean, what happens? I mean, it's sitting in the garage.
We owe them $35,000.
They want $35,000 to install it?
I believe it's for installation, but I think there's some kind of connection that they have to use a certain company to install it, or some kind of.
Certified, I
Right.
would suspect.
So my question is the $35,000 gonna come out of the revolving fund? Or is it gonna come out of the taxpayers' money as a, whoops?
They don't have the money in the revolving fund.
We don't have, there's no money to come up with to help with 35,000 out of the operating budget.
Are we on the,
So-
the
We're on the
question
hook.
is, are we on
The
the hook?
town's on the hook.
The
Is
town has to
town-
pay it.
The town's on the hook.
It is that like in a contract when they bought this equipment? So when you buy this equipment, there was no pre-planning that says, oh, by the way, how am I gonna get the money to install it? So we just go out and buy equipment and we can't install it? And how much was the equipment? I hate to ask.
125. But
100?
thereabouts, 100 something.
Holy cow.
And it's sitting out there.
Okay.
So I think the townspeople should know about this, cause they might have to come up with 35,000 in December.
Right.
So how do we get that message out?
As a taxpayer, I'd be pissed.
And you would be right.
She's supposed to be doing, fundraising,
Yeah.
but she hasn't started yet, and she's had this plan for 3 years now.
How long we've had this equipment sitting?
3 years,
around?
since COVID,
Really?
yeah.
So why are we on the hook for installing it if it's been sitting in the
Because
garage for 3
because
years?
she hasn't done any fundraising,
Well, yeah, so why can't it just sit there forever?
because we're gonna have to return it.
Well, let's return it and get our money
I
back.
say return it.
I mean, I talked to her and find out what the, or get a
Yeah,
copy of the contract, it must have be in the town somewhere. Somebody's got the contract.
What is this equipment for? Because we just
Fitness,
voted.
fitness.
It's a
No,
fitness.
that's
That's
different.
entirely different,
It's
fine.
yeah, that's
Kinda
the
like a
playground. That was
fitness
the
trail
playground.
kind of thing.
Oh, that was the playground.
What is
Right.
a playground besides fitness?
No,
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 This is
this
like
is for
a-
adults.
It's
Yeah,
like a
adult-
fitness, it's kind of a
It's a-
fitness trail kind of
This
thing.
is you and your wife going on this
Trail,
Equipment.
like a
Yeah.
trail, and then you, along the trail, there'd
You
be
know what
like
a
a
shovel
thing.
is? Do you know what?
Shovel rake is.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So,
You know
Okay,
what
so
the
I
bundle
think the
is.
townspeople should
He's
be
got a
aware of
fitness
this.
trail at his
Right.
farm, at his
Attention.
farm
Yeah.
that people
How do
can
we-
come use for free.
How do we, seeing that it's not in the budget, it's like the
Yeah,
secret
right.
thing, how do we get it out there as a
Sand,
public
I
thing?
had to
Well,
put down or
maybe we're not
carry,
on the
and
hook
she
for
put
it.
down while I'm
Okay, we'll
carrying
read
it
the
to her.
contract
Right,
first.
Or go.
Well, we're
Alright.
gonna find a
Yeah,
contract.
it's-
Okay, so we'll get the contract.
Is ridiculous.
Well, we used to
Find
have
out what
I used to
it
have
is.
horses, so I'm
Yeah.
Just to get
I
around and
guess
feed
if
them
it sits in
without
the garage
falling and breaking your
forever,
neck, or in her case, her hip.
Or return it.
Which you already did.
Okay, so the
I'll
library's
break it, I'll
good,
hurt it.
the recreation's
And I don't wanna see
good.
that again.
What's the last thing? Oh.
I have reduced
Last
by-
but not least,
Which one
What?
is?
can I please read it out loud?
Okay, yes, please.
1,213,761.
Mhm.
1,213,148 insurance.
Health insurance.
Is that just health insurance?
That's just health insurance.
Okay. So we talked about this at the summit. And my question was, is anyone looking at the insurances to compare prices? Because those of us who get the Medicare book
Mhm.
every year know that there's a lot of options that we can
Right.
pick from. So is somebody responsible in this,
Nelson, and my understanding is it would be Nelson, responsible for going out and getting quotes for health insurance. I don't think
and
there's
I think
anybody
his
else.
response was that it's disruptive. Was that not the word he used?
Sounds familiar.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
it was,
remember that?
because he said,
Yeah.
well, people might have to change carriers. I says, well, during my work life, I had to change carriers.
How many times?
And because
What
the
did you do your
company-
40 years?
The company goes out and gets the cheapest rate that they can, and.
4 years, and you get pretty close to free health insurance for the rest of your life.
Oh, when? When's that happen?
For me, it was the age of 18 to 22 or 23. I gave them 4 years.
Oh, yeah, well, that
Yeah.
ship sailed for
Yeah.
us.
They won't take me, I'm
Yeah,
overage.
you're too old.
Actually, they were taking them up to the age of 50 not long ago.
Mhm.
Oh,
But
that
they're
ship
just-
still sailed.
No, there's so much more than carrying a rifle or, tending a
Right,
ship.
right.
20, for everyone doing that kind of work, there's 25 in the backyard making sure that they can.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So we're gonna address that this year, correct, Dawn?
Yep, we'll put it on our list.
Yeah, 'cause that's a big number, and that's only gonna get bigger,
Mhm.
and healthcare's only gonna get worse.
Mhm.
So it's diminishing returns on that one. See if we don't have any hospital.
All right, what time we got?
It's well past 18, yeah, 2000.
I talked too much.
It actually left 20
No,
minutes
it's-
to
it's
death.
You had a lot of questions, I was just looking at
Oh, I know.
the BBA for the unemployment compensation, we're paid 3,600 through December into unemployment, so there's only 12,000 in the unemployment as of then. We'll get an updated BBA and take a look at
So
it.
if somebody does file a claim, how does that get paid?
It would come into the town, there'd be a bill from unemployment to the town and invoicing.
So you're saying we had to pay 3,600 to somebody?
There's been 3,600 paid out of that unemployment compensation.
So they left,
Who,
somebody left.
who got fired? 'Cause if
Don't
they-
know if anybody,
Layoff, could be a layoff,
Did we have, but did we have any layoffs?
I don't know,
Not that
do we know?
cause if they quit, they don't qualify for unemployment.
Depends on why they quit.
Sometimes it does.
kind of,
Yeah.
so, again, we get into the hours, of, it's a reduction of hours, you can't survive it, and we gotta,
Right, that
go
does
get another
count,
job
yeah.
and change and, so it's kinda like we can get more information on that, but I just wanted to look at it to see
Yeah.
what the number was.
So are we gonna have
We'll get-
another meeting?
Yeah, we should set up another meeting and,
So-
we need to have a chance with the selectmen
Did-
also.
Why?
When are we gonna get another revenue sheet? 'Cause this is only half the picture.
This is only half the
Right.
picture, this is the expenses, we need the
We need-
recap sheet
yeah, we
to
need-
go with it.
Depending on what that
Um,
video says, how the override was worded.
I will ask Nelson and, see
Okay.
when the recap sheet. It
And you'll
sounded-
let us know.
Sounded like it might be. Now for next meeting, we definitely have to get together before the 16th, which is the.
Yes.
And start preparing. Board of Selectmen, a meeting on the 1st, because that's the first Tuesday. Do we wanna meet that week
Sure.
and do April 3rd, or do you wanna go on keep it on Tuesdays, go to April 8th?
I think we should go on April 3rd, because we might have to have another meeting.
Well, we're gonna get the information from
I'll
the
request.
selectmen as to what they did on the.
We're gonna have to watch it.
Right,
Yeah, we'll
and,
have to-
That's not what I asked
again,
for.
will we
I want
have
it in writing.
recommendations,
You better watch it.
So you wanna do the 3rd?
We have a
As
pretty
close
good-
as I get to that kind of
Excuse me?
TV is out of
We have a
range.
pretty good summary written up, factual summary I'll send you.
and again, 6 P M.
I'm not into reality
Yes,
TV.
Is 6 good for you, David?
Summary.
Did you
No,
want
6 is okay.
It is?
6 is okay. I mean, I went home after work and was sitting around and all of a sudden realized I had the meeting tonight and still got here on time, so.
Oh, okay.
That's why my alarm is set for, in this case, 40 minutes ahead of time.
Yeah.
That's good.
Cause I gotta drop what I'm doing out there, it takes 10 minutes to get into where there's what, inside at least, if not 15. So I just keep hitting recycle on the thing, so it gives me a 10-minute warning as I go get closer and closer.
Reset,
I started that when my daughter had to, get on the school bus to go to whatever the school is right around the corner here, on the westward, Spalding, and, and it works. You know.
Okay, so I'll try for the third, which is next Thursday,
Okay.
at six P M, requested into TCAM to get the Zoom.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Thursday is
And
the,
I make a
Need a
motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:49.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second, roll call vote.
Kara Hoff says yes.
Sam Grant, yes?
Dave Walker, yes?
Mary Jane Churchley, yes.
John Hayes, yes, we stand adjourned,
Adjourn, stand,
we'll see you
stop
on the third.
recording.
Okay, that's Thursday
Recording
the third?
stopped.
Yes.
We're already in April?
Yeah.
Not yet, we got another week.